Chapter 277. Still alive, you'll see. Huaijuan said with a smile. Alright, Song, I'm going to a meeting now, so my phone's off. I'll call you later. Oh, okay. Ling Shan didn't know what Huaijuan was talking about, but since he'd said so, she'd do as he said. She told the marine police to retreat, and borrowed a speedboat from Wang Li's men to start searching along the coastline. Captain Song, we're searching here. The body shouldn't be floating here that fast, right? Wang Li didn't understand. It's Captain Yang's orders. Just keep your eyes open. Ling Shan didn't explain much, since she didn't quite understand what Huaijuan was suggesting. But Ling Shan respected Huaijuan the most in the police department. She'd follow his orders to the letter. Wang Li shut his mouth immediately upon hearing that it was the orders of the old captain, and the current vice director Yang. He, like Ling Shan, admired Huaijuan from the bottom of his heart. There had to be a reason why Huaijuan wanted them to do this. Yushu sat on the beach, playing with the sand. She made a bunker out of the sand and dug a trap, having the time of her life. Lin Yi smiled as he looked at the playful Yushu. Only Yushu would be in the mood to play with sand at a time like this. Lin Yi picked it up after looking at the phone on the beach, plugged in the battery, and turned it on. As expected, the phone turned on. It seemed that his friend had a point after all. Lin Yi dialed Huaijuan's number, but the phone was turned off. After some hesitation, Lin Yi dialed Ling Shan's number. Her phone rang, and Ling Shan took it out. She thought it was Director Chen, but her eyes widened when she saw the name on the screen. What the hell? The caller ID on the phone was actually Lin Yi's name. Didn't he drown? Wang Li was a little surprised. He didn't know why Ling Shan wasn't picking up the call. Captain Song, what's wrong? Oh, it's nothing. Ling Shan came back to her senses and quickly answered the phone. She was a police, she didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that. Hello? Lin Yi? Lin Yi waited impatiently for a long time, cursing the tigress in his heart for not picking up his phone. Who knew how long his phone would last? Ling Shan, get someone to look into my phone's signal and tell Faubert to come get me. I won't say anything else. I'll talk about it when I get back. Lin Yi said and hung up the phone. Lin Yi didn't know that Ling Shan was searching for him as well. He thought that she would ask him all sorts of questions, but Lin Yi didn't even dare use his phone right now. Who knew if it would shut down if he talked too much? Lin Yi had a GPS app in his phone, but Lin Yi couldn't guarantee that his phone wouldn't crash after he pulled it out. Who knew what would happen to a phone that had been soaked in water? He's not dead. Ling Shan looked at her phone in disbelief. But, Lin Yi did call, and he even asked her to look into his location. Ling Shan was now sure that Lin Yi was out of danger, but she didn't know where he was. What do you mean not dead? Wang Li was a little puzzled. What was the captain talking about? Lu Wang Li, call the tech department, tell them to look into 152XXXX1234's location and report back to me. Ling Shan said. Yes. Lu Wang Li didn't get a reply from Ling Shan, but that wasn't important. Since Ling Shan had given him an order, naturally, he wouldn't dare delay and carry it out immediately. Soon, the coordinates of Lin Yi's phone were sent back to Ling Shan, and she keyed in the coordinates into the GPS. She was surprised to find that Lin Yi was on a coastline 2 kilometers behind her. Lin Yi really was on the coastline, and Huaijuan was right. Ling Shan finally understood what Huaijuan was saying. Huaijuan was sure that Lin Yi wouldn't die, and that he would definitely swim to the coast. Ling Shan frowned. It seemed like this Lin Yi kid did have some ability. Ling Shan wasn't happy about it, but she had to admit it. Lin Yi seemed to be stronger than her, just a little. Of course, Ling Shan wasn't going to lose in terms of skills. After getting Lin Yi's coordinates, Ling Shan called Lin Yi back impatiently, wanting to make sure that Yushu was fine. Lin Yi's phone rang twice, however, and was mysteriously hung up. Ling Shan tried calling again, only to hear that the phone had been turned off. Ling Shan was a little annoyed and helpless. Why didn't he pick up? However, she also knew that Lin Yi's phone might have run out of battery, or else he wouldn't have called her in such a hurry. He'd hung up after giving her a vague explanation. He was out of danger now, and he should have time to talk. Ling Shan was pretty much right, but it wasn't that the phone was out of battery, but that it was completely broken. Lin Yi was just about to pick up when he realized that the phone was dead, and he couldn't turn it off even if he wanted to turn it off. He could only remove the battery, but it couldn't be turned back on. He didn't know if that tigress Ling Shan had gone to look for his location. Lin Yi shook his head with a bitter smile, hoping that tigress had some brains. The reason why Lin Yi didn't call Faubert and chose to call Huijuan and Ling Shan first was because he was afraid that his phone wouldn't last long. If he called Faubert, Faubert would have to contact the police to lock the phone's signal. Lin Yi wasn't sure if his phone would last that long, so he decided to call Ling Shan instead. When Lin Yi saw a motorboat coming their way, Lin Yi knew that Ling Shan wasn't that bad after all. "Shoo, someone's here to pick us up. We can go home now." Lin Yi called out to Yushu, who was playing with the sand. In fact, Lin Yi wasn't worried at all. Even if his phone was broken, it would only be a matter of time before they were found. Huijuan would be able to tell that he wasn't dead when he found out that he fell into the sea with Yushu. "Oh, shield bro, it wasn't easy for me to build a castle out of sand," Yushu said, a little reluctant. "Ha, I'll use someone else's phone to take a picture for you," Lin Yi said with a smile. Chapter 278. Shield bro is mighty. Ling Shan had wanted to say a few words of consolation. She wasn't on good terms with Yushu's brother, but that was a personal thing, she couldn't mix it with work. Yushu was a victim, after all, and it made sense to comfort her after being rescued by the police. Ling Shan swallowed the words she was about to say when she saw the castles piled up on the beach. She didn't need any consolation after having so much fun. What Yushu said next, however, made her even more speechless. "Ling Shan sis, you're so fast. I haven't even finished building my castle yet," Yushu said as she walked over reluctantly as she looked at her masterpiece. Ling Shan wanted to yell at her, but she held it in. She knew that Yushu was doing this on purpose just by looking at those little eyes of hers. This girl had never liked her since she was young, wasn't it because she'd rejected her brother's advances? Couldn't she just reject him if she didn't like him? Ling Shan felt a headache coming on. Little girls were really hard to read. She didn't have to look for her brother for a boyfriend, did she? Plus, it was a fact that she couldn't beat her in a fight, so why would she look for a guy weaker than her? Was she supposed to protect him, or was he supposed to protect her in the future? "Give me your phone." Ling Shan was just getting annoyed when Lin Yi asked for her phone. What for?" Ling Shan paused, but still handed the phone over to Lin Yi. She tried calling him earlier, but his phone was turned off. She subconsciously assumed that his phone was out of battery, and she was borrowing it to make a call. But he didn't make a call after taking the phone. Instead, he turned on the camera function and started taking pictures of Yushu's sand castle. Left, right, all angles, he didn't miss anything. "Wow, shield bro, you're so nice. I can keep this as a souvenir," Yushu said excitedly as she ran over to the castle. "Shield bro, take a picture with us." Why are you taking pictures of this?" Ling Shan wasn't expecting Lin Yi to use her phone for something like this. She was furious. "Lin Yi, do you have nothing better to do? Send the pictures to me when you get back, or send it to my mailbox." Lin Yi didn't answer her question as he handed the phone back to her. "No time." Ling Shan was about to explode. Taking pictures of Yushu with her phone was one thing, but taking pictures of a bunch of castles? If she cooperated with him and sent the photo over, what would happen to her? Ling Shan had always had a strong image in the courtyard, acting like a proud princess no matter who she was facing. Yushu never got along with her because of Yutian, so why would Ling Shan send her a photo? If he did, where would his face be? No time, right? Alright, next time you come looking for me, you'll have to think about whether or not I have the time. Lin Yi shrugged nonchalantly, turning around to leave. Ling Shan gritted her teeth and stomped her feet on the sand, spitting out 2 words. I'll be rich. Ha! Lin Yi smiled. He knew this tigress would give in. Yushu, on the other hand, had her eyes wide open as she looked at Lin Yi and Ling Shan in disbelief. Yushu had asked Lin Yi to take a photo with the sand castle just to piss off Ling Shan. As far as she was concerned, with Ling Shan's temper, there was no way she'd send the photo to her. Even if Yushu were to ask about it, Ling Shan would only say that she'd accidentally deleted it. So when Lin Yi asked Ling Shan to send the photo, Ling Shan saying, no time, was within Yushu's expectations. Yushu didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. Lin Yi had used Ling Shan's phone to take a photo of her in the sand castle, and that was already very impressive. Who would dare use her phone to do something so senseless? Even his big brother, Yutian, wouldn't dare do something like that. From a certain point of view, Shield Bro was very powerful. He took Ling Shan's phone and took some senseless pictures, and Ling Shan didn't beat him up, only saying that she didn't have time was already giving him a lot of face. Just when Yushu was about to praise Shield Bro for being so powerful, something unexpected happened. Ling Shan actually agreed to send the photo, all because of one sentence from Shield Bro. Shield Bro, you're too amazing. Yushu really wanted to hug and kiss Lin Yi. All the pent-up anger she'd been suppressing for so many years was finally vented. She'd thought that no man could handle Ling Shan, but Shield Bro did it so easily. The rumors about Ling Shan doing that thing to Lin Yi in the hospital. Could it be true? Yes, it seemed very possible now. Why else would Ling Shan be so obedient? Geez, bro, looks like you'll have to give up, but it doesn't seem like you can handle her. Might as well give her to Shield Bro. Yes, if Uncle Chu really is looking for a son-in-law, then Yao Yao will be Shield Bro's main wife, and I'll be Shield Bro's second wife, and Ling Shan can only be a maid. Ling Shan was so angry that she almost turned into a frog. Of course, she knew what Yushu was happy about, but there was nothing she could do about it. Ling Shan didn't dare offend Lin Yi too much. She couldn't guarantee that she wouldn't ask him for help if she had any problems in the future. Thinking about it, she could only endure it. Hey, Tigress, come help move the shark. Lin Yi said casually. Tigress. Tigress. Ling Shan thought that her ears were messed up. Someone actually dared to call her Tigress. Wah. Yushu froze as well. That Shield Bro was a little too much. Lu Wangli stood at the side, wanting to laugh but not daring to. He gave Lin Yi a thumbs up in his heart, wondering what was the relationship between Lin Yi and Captain Song. Not only did he take Captain Song's phone and take a bunch of random sand castles, he even dared to call Captain Song Tigress. Lin Yi, what did you call me? Ling Shan grabbed at Lin Yi, no longer able to hold back her anger. She just wanted to teach him a lesson. This guy was too much. Did he really think that she wouldn't be able to solve the case without him just because he had some skills? She was the champion fighter in the police station, how could she let Lin Yi bully her? Captain Song, don't do anything rash. Lu Wangli jumped when he saw that Ling Shan was about to hit Lin Yi. He knew how strong Ling Shan was. Even the highly trained officers in the Songshan police station were rarely her match, let alone normal people. Chapter 279. Ling Shan, stop messing around. As a result, Lu Wangli was a little scared seeing Ling Shan about to make a move on Lin Yi. Lin Yi and Yushu were drowning people, and not only was he not going to comfort them, he was going to make a move on them. Wouldn't he be in big trouble if his superiors found out? Ling Shan was really pissed off. No one had ever called her a tiger girl in her entire life, and now Lin Yi was calling her a tiger a couple of times. How could she not be angry? She didn't care about the consequences, and threw a punch at Lin Yi's back. A normal person would have been knocked out cold by that punch. Lin Yi smiled, not dodging. Girls had a little temper, after all, and Lin Yi was a man who didn't fight with women. He let her have it, since Lin Yi really did call her a bad nickname. Lin Yi was actually just thinking about it, and he didn't know why he just blurted it out. Bang! Ling Shan's punch landed on Lin Yi's back. Lu Wanli closed his eyes. The guy was probably done for. But then, something unbelievable happened. Lin Yi turned around with a smile. Alright, Ling Shan, stop messing around. Help me move the shark. Ling Shan. Lin Yi called her Ling Shan. Ling Shan was a little dumbfounded. A man calling her that intimately. If it were the old Ling Shan, she would have exploded a long time ago, but now. She really didn't know what to do. Ling Shan knew very well how much strength she'd put into that punch, and she was regretting it a little. Even if Lin Yi was a golden class, getting punched by her would have been quite painful, but Ling Shan's punch felt like she'd punched cotton. It was soft, and she didn't feel anything at all. As for Lin Yi, he didn't seem to feel the force of the punch at all. He even told himself to stop fooling around. Ling Shan, however, knew that the punch was real. She just didn't know how Lin Yi had neutralized it. Ling Shan was shocked. Just where did this man come from? Why didn't he feel anything when I punched him? Ling Shan was surprised, but Wang Li and Yushu were even more surprised. Ling Shan's punch landed on Lin Yi's body. Naturally, they couldn't tell if Ling Shan had used any strength or not, but judging from Lin Yi's relaxed expression and tone, it looked like a punch from a girl flirting with a girl. Lin Yi's words proved this point as well. Alright, Ling Shan, stop messing around. Make a scene. That meant that Ling Shan's punch was really just a joke. Wang Li, on the other hand, didn't have the eyesight to tell if Ling Shan had used her full strength or not, and Yushu, on the other hand, couldn't tell either. Could it be that this man was Ling Shan's rumored boyfriend? That's right. Wang Li suddenly remembered that the man Ling Shan was rumored to be with at the hospital, wasn't his name Lin Yi? Wang Li couldn't help but admire Lin Yi once more. Ling Shan may be the prettiest girl in the police force, but she was also a violent Tyrannosaurus Rex. How many men could handle a woman like that? What if she got heavily injured during a fight? Lin Yi was actually just joking around with Ling Shan. He didn't think too much about it, but looking at Wang Li and Yushu's expressions, he knew that they were thinking too much. Ling Shan watched as Lin Yi carried the shark onto the motorboat, and as reluctant as she was, she didn't say anything. She'd suffered a few times at Lin Yi's hands, and she'd learned her lesson. She couldn't piss him off, but she could hide from him. That punch made Ling Shan take Lin Yi seriously. It seemed like it wasn't a coincidence that he'd caught Heibao. Shield bro, are you and Ling Shan really together? Yushu asked curiously as she followed Lin Yi onto the motorboat. No. Lin Yi didn't lie to Yushu. There was no need for something like that. Shield bro, are you for real? There's really nothing going on between you two. Yushu was a little disappointed. She'd gotten to know Lin Yi already. Lin Yi was the type of person who would admit to what he'd done. If he really had that kind of relationship with Ling Shan, there was no way he wouldn't admit it. It was just like that time in the school field, when he'd pulled Tang Yun and slapped Zhou Ruoming in the face, declaring that Tang Yun was his woman. There really isn't. Lin Yi said. What else do you want from us? Man, there's some things you don't know. My brother's been chasing her for a couple of years, but she's acting all high and mighty, ignoring my brother, even insulting him, saying that my brother can't even beat her, that he's not a man. Yushu said, a little angry. I thought you'd taken care of that fox, shield bro, and showed her what it means to be strong. Lin Yi's eyes went wide as he looked at Yushu, speechless. Since when did she become a fox? She was in the hospital. Not with you. Yushu was usually a good talker, but she couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed talking about this. Actually, it's not what you think. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I had an injury on my leg that day, and she just wanted to punish me a little, so she went to press on my wound. I see. Yushu nodded understandingly. It seemed like she'd misunderstood Ling Shan, thinking that the girl was getting horny after all. But it was a fact that she was afraid of Shield Bro. Yes, she wasn't Shield Bro's woman, but Shield Bro had the potential to conquer her. Not bad, at least she'd gotten her revenge. Yushu comforted herself. Ling Shan heard Lin Yi and Yushu's mumbling in the back. Fortunately, Lu Wangli was driving the boat, and she was the only one close to them. It'd be so embarrassing if someone else heard it. Ling Shan really wanted to strangle the girl when she heard Yushu call her a fox. How did she become a fox? She'd never had a scandal before, okay. Wait. No. Yushu's next sentence was about her scandal, wasn't it? News of her and Lin Yi at the hospital had spread all over the station, and her colleagues had been looking at her weirdly for the past few days. Ling Shan, of course, knew what they were thinking. They'd all think that a violent girl like her would do something like that for a man. What a fantasy. She was just about to turn around and explain to Lin Yi before he ruined her reputation when Lin Yi told Yushu everything about their relationship. Ling Shan wasn't expecting this at all. This guy was actually quite honorable. He didn't use this opportunity to slander her. Ling Shan didn't know what to say about Yushu's childish thoughts. She rejected her brother, and this was how she got back at her. Chapter 280. Friends. Meng Yao wasn't as worried as before after listening to Falbert's explanation and her father's comforting words, but it would be a lie to say that she wasn't nervous at all. Meng Yao had been restless ever since she got home. After all, Yushu was her bestie from a young age. Her bestie. How could she not be worried? And that Lin Yi, too. She didn't know if he was in any danger. She didn't like him, but she didn't want anything to happen to him. Meng Yao didn't know why, but perhaps Lin Yi was her employee, and she didn't want anything to happen to him. It didn't take long for Lin Yi and Yushu to return safely, driven by Lu Wangli. Ling Shan handed the task of escorting Lin Yi and Yushu to Lu Wangli as soon as she got back to the police station. She avoided Lin Yi as much as possible. She couldn't afford to piss him off, but she could afford to hide. Asking the captain of the criminal police to drive a shark to Lin Yi? Ling Shan didn't want to do that. Lu Wangli, on the other hand, borrowed a van from the traffic police and sent Lin Yi and Yushu back to the villa with the shark. In truth, Lu Wangli quite admired Lin Yi. He was no ordinary person, after all, being able to pursue the female Tyrannosaurus of the police force. Shoo, you're okay. That's great. Meng Yao was very excited to see Yushu's safe return. She opened her arms and hugged Yushu. Yao Yao, I'm fine. I've been doing pretty well. Yushu, on the other hand, wasn't feeling the way Meng Yao did. Meng Yao was more worried, but Yushu had a good meal of shark meat and played in the sand. It was a happy Saturday. Lin Yi, on the other hand, shook his head at the two girls hugging each other. Did they really have to be like this? If they were this excited after falling into the sea, he'd have to hug Huijuan and the others every day. Meng Yao turned to Lin Yi after hugging Yushu. She was a little worried, but she didn't show it on her face. She was about to say something to comfort him when she saw the shark on Lin Yi's shoulder. Lin Yi, what are you carrying? Oh, right, Yao Yao, this is the shark that Shield Bro killed. He's roasting the shark meat for me. It's delicious, so I asked him to bring the rest back and roast it for you. Yushu quickly explained. Meng Yao was quite touched by Yushu's words. They'd grown up together, after all, and had a deep sisterly bond. Yushu didn't forget about her even when she was in trouble. She reached out to give Yushu another hug. Shoo, thank you. Hey, I'm the one carrying the shark. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Thank you too. Lin Yi. Meng Yao nodded to Lin Yi, a little embarrassed, but she couldn't hug Lin Yi. All of a sudden, Meng Yao remembered something. Shark. Shoo, did you say that Lin Yi is carrying a shark? Yeah. Yushu nodded. It's a big shark, really delicious. What? A shark? Meng Yao's eyes went wide. Lin Yi, you killed a shark. Ha. Lin Yi smiled, if I don't kill him, he'll eat me and Shoo. Meng Yao really didn't know what to say. The man in front of her was full of miracles. Was this the reason he killed the shark? So many people had been eaten by sharks. Why didn't they go and kill the sharks? Lin Yi said it casually, but Meng Yao could imagine how dangerous the situation was. In actuality, Meng Yao had guessed wrongly this time. Lin Yi had killed the shark with ease. Thank you for protecting Shoo, Meng Yao nodded to Lin Yi. Since Lin Yi said so, Meng Yao didn't say anything else. She's my friend. You don't have to thank me, Lin Yi shook his head. Meng Yao's heart suddenly felt empty after hearing Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi protected her because she was his employer. Meng Yao wanted to thank Lin Yi for protecting Yushu because Lin Yi's job was only to protect her, not Yushu. However, Lin Yi's simple words made it clear that he wasn't protecting Yushu because of his relationship with her, but because they were friends. He and Yushu were friends, but she. Meng Yao felt a little down at the thought. What about me? Ha, I wouldn't have saved Jiangwen today if it wasn't for you. I hate that guy. Lin Yi smiled. He didn't expect Meng Yao to be so considerate. Meng Yao remembered that when she begged Lin Yi today, Lin Yi wasn't too willing. But she said it was a personal request, and Lin Yi helped. Yes, personal request. Naturally, they were friends. Unconsciously, Meng Yao started to care about this man she hated so much. In the villa, Meng Yao held Yushu's hand as they sat on the sofa, chatting. She had wanted to comfort Yushu, thinking that Yushu must have been pretty scared after falling into the sea, but Meng Yao had miscalculated. Yushu wasn't scared at all. Instead, she started telling her how to build a sand castle on the beach, how to start a fire with wood, how to roast shark meat. It was no different from a vacation in the wild. Meng Yao was envious. She even wondered why she wasn't the one who fell into the sea. If she knew that Lin Yi was this capable, she wouldn't have been afraid of anything. She'd just jump with him, and she'd be able to eat and drink. Man, but Yao Yao, I have some bad news to tell you. Yushu suddenly remembered Lingshan's situation. Bad news? What bad news? Meng Yao was immersed in Yushu's picturesque scene. She was playing with the sand on the beach under the sun, and the smell of roast shark meat wafted from the fire. What a relaxing picnic. Lingshan isn't Shield Bro's woman. Shield Bro has nothing to do with her. Yushu was a little disappointed. I wanted her to be a servant girl and step on her a little, but she's still not Lin Yi's woman. If she isn't, then she isn't. But, what does that have to do with being a servant girl? Meng Yao was thinking that it wasn't good news. How could this be bad news? The most annoying thing was that he was messing around outside. Chapter 281. Chapter 281, The Fish's Belly, Damn. Meng Yao looked at Yushu oddly. You like Shield Bro, so you like him. Why do you have to drag me into it? Meng Yao finally understood what was going on with this big girl, but why did her best friend always drag her into it? Not at all, Yao Yao. Didn't we agree that I'd marry whoever you marry, that we'd never be apart? Yushu said with a straight face. Oh, then what if I don't marry Lin Yi, and I marry Zhong Pingliang? Would you marry him too? Meng Yao said as she looked at Yushu. She knew her best friend, didn't she? They'd grown up together, eating and living together every day. Who wouldn't know each other? Ugh. Yushu froze, not expecting a question like that from Mengyao. She blushed, not knowing what to say. Why aren't you talking? Mengyao glared at Yushu. Do you not want to be apart from me, or do you want to marry Lin Yi? Yao Yao. Yushu started swinging Menyao's arm. Of course I don't want to be apart from you, humph, Mengyao humphed as she looked at Yushu. Yushu blushed, feeling a little guilty. Alright. You should at least marry someone you like. That Zhong Pingliang's too annoying. Tell me the truth. So you like Lin Yi? Mengyao asked. Nah, I just think he's okay. I don't hate him. Yushu explained. Little liar. Mengyao poked Yushu's forehead. Don't worry, I won't marry him. You can marry him yourself if you want. Oh. Yushu didn't really care, she felt that Yao Yao never meant what she said. Lin Yi was cleaning up the shark in the kitchen. Shark meat wasn't very tasty, and Mengyao would probably think it was just a so-so after tasting it. But since she'd already gotten it back, Mengyao wouldn't give up until she tried it. He'd only cleaned up a bit on the beach, slicing off a few pieces of meat from the shark's tail. It was enough for him and Yushu. Now that he had thrown the shark from the middle, Lin Yi could only sigh at how huge the shark was. Clang! A crisp metallic sound rang out. The saber in Lin Yi's hand seemed to have touched metal. Lin Yi was startled. Was there something else in the shark's stomach? It had long been said that when someone salvaged a shark, they would take out rings and other jewelry from the shark's belly. Many of them were eaten together with the shark when it was eating people. However, the rings could not be digested, so they remained in the fish's belly. Could it be that he had also won a prize? Lin Yi quickly threw the shark away and took out the foreign object in the shark's belly. But it was obvious that it was not a ring, nor was it some jewelry. This was because the size of the foreign object was very big. Not only was it very big, but it was shockingly big. When Lin Yi took it out, he couldn't help but be shocked. It was a small device that looked like something that controlled a motor, and there was a big air bag behind it. It seemed to be a remote control device similar to a balancer, but it was covered in rust. From the degree of corrosion, it should have been there for a long time. This was a shark that had been trained and modified by someone. If Lin Yi's guess was right, this balancer-like device should be able to control the direction and speed of the shark, and the air bag should be able to control the height of the shark in the water. No wonder he didn't feel much of a burden when he was swimming with Yushu and dragging a shark behind him. It turned out that it was more like dragging an inflatable raft. But who modified this shark? What was the purpose of this modification? It was obvious that this control device had lost its function. Otherwise, he wouldn't have met this shark. Lin Yi took out the control device and looked at it carefully. This wasn't a high-tech product. With the current technology, it wasn't difficult to make such a thing. The key question was, what was this shark used for? However, this matter had nothing to do with him, so Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. He was about to throw the control device aside when he suddenly found that there was a small door at the bottom of the control device that could be opened. Lin Yi pulled it, and the small door was locked. There was a keyhole on it, and it should be an ordinary key. Lin Yi found a toothpick in the kitchen and picked it back and forth a few times, and the small door opened. A small box sealed with a plastic sheet fell out, and Lin Yi picked it up casually. The small box wasn't exquisite, but it was very tight. It was a bit like the popular Yushu box, but it was made of metal. Lin Yi tore off the plastic sheet and waited for a while. The jade on his body didn't give any warning, so Lin Yi forcefully opened the metal box. Lin Yi would naturally be careful, because no one knew what was in the box. What if it was a bomb? If Lin Yi exploded as soon as he opened the box, that would be a little too tragic. Huh? Lin Yi took out the thing in the box and was slightly surprised. The thing inside was a sheepskin. To be precise, it was a map made of sheepskin, but it wasn't a complete map, but a fragment. As for how much it was, Lin Yi couldn't deduce for the time being. And on the map, the text written was also a language that Lin Yi had never seen before. Lin Yi knew some of the languages of most countries in the world. Even if he didn't, Lin Yi could roughly recognize which language it belonged to. But the text on the map didn't belong to any of the languages in the world. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that it was a small country or a small tribe that Lin Yi didn't know, or an ancient civilization that had been lost. Of course, Lin Yi's most inclined situation was that this was a secret code, or a password. Only those who knew the decryption rules could read the meaning on it. At this moment, Lin Yi probably understood that this shark was regarded as an intelligence or a transmission tool for this blueprint. It was just that there was an accident on the way, and this shark lost control. It didn't complete this mission, so both the controller and the map were left in its belly. In the vast sea, it was probably difficult to find such a shark again. It was just that Lin Yi happened to encounter it. Chapter 282. Board of Directors, Shu, is this the delicious shark meat you were talking about? Meng Yao said as she chewed on the fish. It wasn't even as tasty as a regular carp. Meng Yao didn't want to say no to Yushu's expectant face, especially after all the work Lin Yi had done for the entire afternoon. Now that the shark was cooked, it smelled pretty good, but the meat wasn't delicious at all. It was just average at best, yeah. Yushu's appetite was piqued as she smelled the aroma of the shark meat. She stuck a piece into her mouth and started chewing happily. Why isn't this shark meat as good as it was at noon? Yushu frowned as well. She tasted it attentively. It was still the same flavor, and the seasoning made the fish even more fragrant. But it wasn't as good as it was for lunch. Shark meat isn't that good in the first place. Lin Yi started eating as well. You were too scared at noon, and you puked everything out along with the seawater. It'd be weird if you weren't hungry, that's why you're enjoying it. I see. Yushu said, a little embarrassed. Yao Yao, maybe you don't have to eat, how can I? Meng Yao shook her head. I have to. This is a token of your sincerity, and I'm really happy eating it. Oh, eat more then. I think it's pretty good. Yushu said as she put another piece of fish into her mouth. Fuck. Are you an idiot? Gubang glared at his son, furious. Lin Yi and Yushu aren't dead. The police already sent the news. This is huge. What else could it be? Mao Xing paused. Peng Zhan, that old fox. He's holding a board meeting tomorrow. I think he's going to use this as a pretext. Gubang said hatefully. If I let him take back the businesses I control, he'll be able to find problems with just a simple investigation. We're done for. Mao Xing wasn't an idiot. His face darkened after hearing his father's words. He hadn't thought too much about it before. It was a pity that Lin Yi wasn't dead, but it wasn't a big deal. There was always a next time, but Peng Zhan was using the theme park incident to weaken House Jin's power. The theme park happened to be one of Gubang. It was up to Peng Zhan to decide how big or small the accident would be. Dad, I'm sorry. Mao Xing didn't think that Peng Zhan would react this quickly after what he'd done today. Forget it, he won't be able to find anything in such a short time. Don't we still have a trump card? I didn't want to go this far, but since he's forcing my hand, then don't blame me for not going easy on him. Gubang smiled coldly. Does he think I'm an idiot that's easy to bully? If he wants to weaken my power, then I'll remove you from your position as chairman first. A look of surprise flashed in Mao Xing's eyes. This was the first time he'd realized that his father still had a trump card in his hands. His father had always been eating away at the company's assets and power, using this method to gain control of the company. But Gubang seemed to have other plans, and he seemed very confident that he'd be able to remove Pengzhan from his chairman. This surprised Mao Sheng. "Dad." Mao Sheng was about to ask something when Gubang cut him off with a wave of his hand. "Don't ask so many questions, just focus on what you're doing," Gubang said. "Right, did you take care of the guy who brought them bungee jumping?" "Ma, huh. I've already hinted to Zhang Yuzhou to get rid of him," Mao Sheng said. "Don't worry, Dad, no one will be able to trace today's incident back to us." "Won't they?" "Humph, that old fox Pengzhan didn't even think about investigating." Gubang smiled coldly. "I underestimated him. He actually called the police and told them to stop investigating since Yushu and Lin Yi were fine. It's obvious that he's trying to pin the blame on House Jin." Mao Sheng didn't know what to say, he was the one who'd done it in the first place. Wouldn't House Jin be done for if there was a problem? It was Sunday morning, and Pengzhan Industries called for an emergency meeting. Gubang sat beside Pengzhan with a cold face. He was the second shareholder of the company, the vice chairman. It was only right for him to sit there. "All right, everyone's here. We'll start the meeting now." Pengzhan didn't waste time with pleasantries, getting straight to the point. "As you all know, there was a vicious accident yesterday at the theme park under our company. The victim was my daughter's good friend, Yushu. If something were to happen to her, our entire Pengzhan Industries wouldn't be able to escape the blame. I'm sure everyone here knows about Yushu's background. It wasn't much of a secret, the shareholders all knew about it, and so they all nodded at Pengzhan's words. Indeed, if something were to happen to Yushu, it'd be a huge problem. Fortunately, Yushu's fine, and the police rescued her," Pengzhan said. "So, it's obvious that we've been negligent in our management. If we'd been more careful with the bungee jumping ropes, this wouldn't have happened." Gubang listened to Pengzhan's words coldly as he tried to come up with a countermeasure. He wouldn't use his trump card unless it was absolutely necessary. Doing that would achieve his goal in the shortest time possible, but it'd be hard to convince the people even if he were to take the chairman's position. If he were to give away the entire real estate company, none of the shareholders would support him. He couldn't just do things his way. He needed to slowly gather his power and merge it all together. "I don't want to look into anyone's responsibility. The theme park may be managed by Vice Chairman Jean, but I don't think you'd want something like this to happen, would you, Vice Chairman Jean?" Pengzhan asked. "Of course. No one would want an accident like this to happen," Gubang replied faintly. He was smiling coldly inwardly. Not looking into anyone's responsibility. His intentions weren't in the bar. Chapter 283. Chapter 283, Changes in the Board. Guanghua was the third largest stockholder of the company, the one with the most power after Pengzhan and Jin Maosheng. There shouldn't be any objections from the other shareholders when Pengzhan suggested that he take over the entertainment business. Raising their hands against Pengzhan's suggestion would get them into Gubang's good graces, but they'd be offending both Guanghua and Pengzhan at the same time. The other shareholders wouldn't be able to make a decision like that. It was a smart move Pengzhan had made as well, transferring power to another major stockholder, leaving Gubang and the other shareholders with nothing to say. It was a flawless move. But, while it was a smart move, Pengzhan had miscalculated. Gubang paused at the suggestion, but his heart was bursting with joy. "Pengzhan, you old fox. You've been plotting to weaken my power all this time, but now. If you'd really forcefully taken back my power, the board would have approved it. After all, you're the chairman, and the other shareholders wouldn't be able to go against you. At most, you'd just leave a strong impression. But now, you're giving the entertainment business to Guanghua." Ha 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 ha. Gubang almost laughed out loud. This Guanghua was the ultimate trump card of his side, the final trump card. In actuality, getting this trump card was a complete fluke. If Pengzhan had made his move a few days earlier, Gubang really wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. After all, he hadn't been friends with Guanhua back then. But now, Guanhua needed his help. Without his help, he wouldn't be able to have a son. Guanhua had a son abroad, spending his days in casinos and gambling. Not only did he owe a lot of money, but he'd also gotten into a drug habit, owing hundreds of millions of yuan to loan sharks. Guanhua was the third largest stockholder of the company, but he didn't have a lot of cash on hand. Most of his assets were stocks and real estate, and it was impossible for him to take out hundreds of millions of yuan to pay off his son's debt. But the money had to be returned. His son was abroad, under the control of a local gang. If he didn't get the money in a month, they'd break his son's arms and legs. Guanhua had no choice but to use his position as the supervisor of the company's finance department to embezzle a sum of money and return it when he had enough. Although he was in charge of the finance department, it was impossible to use such a large sum of money without the signature of the chairman or vice chairman. He didn't dare tell Pengzhan, so he could only place his hopes on Gubang. Naturally, he didn't dare say it out loud either. He'd only mentioned it to Gubang in a roundabout way, not expecting the two to hit it off so well. Gubang didn't have any other requests. He only hoped that Guanhua would help him when he needed it. Guanhua knows this is what they call choosing sides. Normally, the three major shareholders of a company are relatively independent, and if any two shareholders are too close, it will be a threat to the other shareholders. However, Guanhua had no other choice. His son's life was more important than anything else. If his son died, everything would be over. No matter how much money he earned, it would be useless. He had already lived for more than half of his life. How much more could he spend in the remaining days? Wouldn't it still be left for their children and grandchildren? He'd lost his son, not to mention his grandson. And so, Guanhua made a difficult decision. He'd completely side with Gubang. He knew very well what that meant. Gubang's request was a clear signal to Guanhua that he was ready to fight for power with Pengzhan. Guanhua didn't expect that Pengzhan would make things difficult for Gubang so soon, and that he'd be the one to benefit from it. Guanhua wouldn't have rejected something like this in the past, but he didn't dare accept it now. He'd already formed an alliance with Gubang. He had to consider Gubang's interests at all times. He raised his head to look at Gubang. Gubang was looking back at him, and he nodded subtly to show that he understood. Gubang's smile deepened as he continued Pengzhan's words. Chairman Chu's words do make sense, but I won't say anything since this concerns me. Pengzhan paused after listening to Gubang. He'd thought that Gubang would be the first to jump out and object, but he'd chosen to remain silent and give up. Then this attitude was a little ambiguous. Could it be that Gubang didn't have anything on the entertainment side, and wasn't afraid of Pengzhan catching him? Pengzhan frowned. Something must have gone wrong in the board meeting. But he couldn't figure out what the problem was either. Since Gubang didn't object, the other board members naturally didn't object to Pengzhan's suggestion. No one would want to offend Pengzhan if you didn't object to it yourself. And so, without a doubt, the board of directors approved Pengzhan's suggestion to lighten Gubang's burden. Since there's no objection, then we'll leave the entertainment side of the company to Chairman Xie. Pengzhan wasn't expecting the board meeting to go so well. It was a little odd, but weakening Gubang's power was still a good thing. Chairman Chu, as the person involved, shouldn't I make a suggestion? Guanhua spoke up faintly. Oh. Pengzhan paused, his heart skipping a beat. What do you want to say, Chairman Xie? I don't think there's a need to hand over the entertainment side of things to me, is there? Guanhua said calmly. We can't completely deny Chairman Jin's achievements and abilities just because of a small incident. The entertainment side of the company still has tens of millions of profits under Chairman Jin's management. I can't say that I'm as good at management as Chairman Jin, so I don't recommend handing over the entertainment side of Chairman Jin's management to me. I'm sorry, Chairman, but my abilities are limited. I refuse. Pengzhan's pupils shrunk as he stared at Guanhua. Since when did this guy get involved with Jin Gubang? Why were they on the same side? Guanbo was speaking up for Gubang. Chapter 284. I'm a freeloader. The only possibility was that Gubang and Guanbo had come to some sort of agreement in private, but Pengzhan didn't know what it was. A bad feeling rose in his heart. Guanbo looked at Gubang smugly after he was done, only to find that Gubang's face was as black as a sheet. Yes, very, very dark. Gubang was about to explode from anger. He'd been very happy when Pengzhan said that he'd be handing over his entertainment business to Guanbo, but now that Guanbo was rejecting it, Gubang couldn't help but curse him for being an idiot. Why did you reject it? Couldn't you just accept it? It's in your hands anyways, why wouldn't I be at ease? We're in the same boat now, I'm not afraid of you betraying me. Would you be able to save your son if you did? But wouldn't Pengzhan know about the relationship between the two of them if you rejected him like this? Gubang hadn't wanted to expose their relationship so prematurely, planning to give Pengzhan a fatal blow when he least expected it. Now that their relationship had been exposed, the so-called surprise attack was no longer possible. Pengzhan would definitely be on his guard, and he'd have to make use of this relationship. Gubang really wanted to curse at him. He'd finally gotten a trump card, and he didn't think he'd have to use it this soon. He didn't want to fall out with Pengzhan just yet, because even if he did become chairman, as long as Pengzhan was still around, he wouldn't be able to give away the real estate company on his own. Gubang glared at Guanbo hatefully, but there was nothing he could do at this point. No matter how hard he tried to deny it, anyone could tell that he had a relationship with Guanbo. There was no point in trying to explain anything. Capable people do more work. If that's the case, we'll do as Mr. Xie says. Pengzhan humphed coldly. Let's leave the entertainment business to Mr. Jean. I hope that Mr. Jean can train and reorganize as soon as possible so that accidents like this don't happen again. Don't worry, Chairman, I'll reorganize the amusement park immediately. Gubang nodded. Pengzhan was pissed, but so was he. Why was this Guanbo so stupid? Their relationship was exposed just like that. Gubang didn't go home right away after the meeting was a journey, he asked Guanbo out instead. Now that their relationship had been exposed, they had to move faster. That way, they'd be able to complete the chairman election before Pengzhan could react. On Monday, Lin Yi sat in Faobert's car and went to school. He packed some shark meat in a food container for Kong Xiaobo, Tang Yun, and Xiaofun. Anyway, it was a whole shark. Lin Yi roasted a large plate and stuffed the remaining half of the shark into the freezer. As for the map fragment in the shark's stomach, Lin Yi put it away in his drawer. He couldn't understand it right now, so Lin Yi didn't spend too much time studying it. He'd just have to wait for the chance to do so in the future. After what happened on Saturday, the relationship between the three had improved quite a bit. Meng Yao, at least, wasn't putting on a stern face anymore. Even if she had a problem with Lin Yi's womanizing ways, she wouldn't say it out loud. Meng Yao and Yushu kept talking about random topics on the way, but Lin Yi wasn't too interested. They were all things that girls liked, like fashion, cosmetics, and so on. Lin Yi didn't have anything to say. They were almost at school when Yushu pointed at a Mercedes not far away. Yao Yao, isn't that Pinliang's family car? Meng Yao couldn't help but frown at Yushu's words. She raised her head and saw Pinliang getting out of the car. Pinliang was under a lot of pressure. His uncle had called him last night to ask about the progress between him and Meng Yao. He heard that they hadn't even held hands yet, and Gubang had already called him a piece of trash. His uncle seemed to be making a move on Pengzhan Industries, but he hadn't even gotten Meng Yao yet. His uncle had given him a death order to get it done within a week, no matter what, even if he had to use force. What's done is done, and Pengzhan Industries would be his. Gubang actually didn't want Pinliang and Meng Yao to be together. Pengzhan only had one daughter, and his family business would definitely be given to Meng Yao in the future. In other words, Pinliang would be in Pinliang's hands. But Fabai wasn't someone who would willingly submit to someone else. Although Pin Liang and Meng Yao being together would temporarily alleviate the pressure of him removing Peng Zhan from his position as the new chairman, it was only temporary. Once Fabai gained power, he might use Peng Zhan's shares to bite back at him. But he had no other choice since his relationship with Guanhua had been exposed. He had to seize the opportunity to take control of the company. As long as Pin Liang could handle Meng Yao and Peng Zhan, he would have time to take control of the company. Pin Liang got out of the car and turned around to see Meng Yao's Bentley behind him. He was just worried that he wouldn't have a chance to interact with Meng Yao. He ran over immediately when he saw Meng Yao's car, waiting for Meng Yao to get out. "Yao Yao sis, he's here." Yushu giggled as she looked at the attentive Pin Liang. "Oh my god." Meng Yao rubbed her forehead. Why was this guy so annoying? Was there an end to it? "Lin Yi, get out of the car and chase him away." "Me? Get out of the car?" Lin Yi paused. Wouldn't he expose his relationship with Meng Yao if he got out of the car now? "Yeah, get out of the car and chase him away." Meng Yao nodded. "I don't want to see him. What if he asks why I'm in your car?" Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "It's on the way, let's hitch a ride." Meng Yao didn't think there was anything wrong with that. "Why don't you just not explain? He won't think too much anyway. You are Tang Yun's boyfriend." Meng Yao humphed inwardly. He was a shield her dad had hired, and now Tang Yun had gotten it for free. Just thinking about it pissed her off. "Ha!" Lin Yi smiled and got out of the car. "Yao Yao." "Ha! Lin Yi? Why are you in Yao Yao's car?" Pin Liang thought that it was Meng Yao who got out of the car and was about to come over and talk to her, but he didn't expect to see Lin Yi there. "Hitch a ride on the way." Lin Yi looked at Pin Liang coldly. "I'll count to 3, get out of my way, 1, 2. Chapter 285. Chapter 285, Dr. Kang's birthday banquet. Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't say anything to Meng Yao in the car after Pin Liang left. It'd only cause more misunderstandings. Lin Yi hummed a little tune as he walked towards school with the 2 containers in his hands. Another beautiful day of school life had begun. Lin Yi had just reached the school gate when he heard someone calling him from behind. He turned around and saw that it was Lu Xinwen, running towards him. Behind Lu Xinwen was a pretty girl. Who else could it be other than Tang Yun? Ah! Lin Yi didn't need to ask to know that Xinwen had become Tang Yun's messenger again. "Xinwen, what's up? Yun wants you to wait for her for lunch." Xinwen's impression of Lin Yi had changed a little. It was also because of Fun's situation that Lin Yi was actively helping out, and so Xinwen didn't reject Lin Yi as much as before. Since Yun had accepted it and was together with him, why should she care about anything else? Xinwen had the same thought in her heart. Sure. Lin Yi didn't even think about it. He wanted to let Tang Yin taste the shark meat at noon, and the shark's fin was the only valuable part of the shark. Lin Yi divided it into 2 portions, putting one into Xiaobo's box for him to bring to Fun, and the other for Tang Yin. As for Meng Yao and Yushu, the 2 misses didn't care about shark fins at all. As they said, what's so good about shark fins? Tang Yun was evidently embarrassed to be so close to Lin Yi in school. She blushed when Lin Yi looked over and turned her head away, pretending that she didn't see Lin Yi at all. That flirtatious look made all the passing boys a little dazed, but no one dared to covet Tang Yun now. Everyone knew that she was the new school bully, Lin Yi's girlfriend. Even Zhou Ruoming was beaten up so badly, who would dare do something like that? Xinwen quickly ran back and left with Tang Yun. Lin Yi shook his head. Should he buy Tang Yun a phone? His phone was broken as well, and he needed to get a new one. It seems that in the end, I still need to earn some money first. Although he could still afford a phone, he would still need to spend money in the future. He couldn't do that if he wasn't financially independent. Lin Yi was starting to regret giving all his money to his old man. He didn't have anything to spend money on back then, so he just let him be. Now that he needed money, he hated that he didn't have enough. When he got to the classroom, Kong Xiaobo was already there. He complained when he saw Lin Yi. "Boss, where did you go yesterday? I called you the whole day, but your phone was turned off. I still have something important to discuss with you." "Oh. You were looking for me yesterday?" Lin Yi paused and remembered that his phone was soaked in water. It wasn't turned off, so he said, "My phone is broken, what's wrong?" "It's my second grandpa's birthday next weekend. He invited me too. I was thinking if I should bring Xiaofan with me." Kong Xiaobo hesitated and said. Lin Yi was the only one who could make decisions for him in this kind of situation. "Bring Xiaofan? To attend your second grandpa's birthday banquet?" Lin Yi looked at Kong Xiaobo strangely. "You want her to meet Kong Mingming?" "Yes. Boss, you know that Kong Mingming is a knot in Xiaofan's heart. If we don't get rid of this knot, even if she's with me, she will still think about Kong Mingming." Kong Xiaobo said, "Although Xiaofan told me that she has already given up on Kong Mingming, I can be sure that there's still Kong Mingming deep in her heart from her sadness." Lin Yi nodded. Kong Xiaobo wasn't stupid. He didn't like Xiaofan blindly. He knew how to look at the relationship between the two of them. "You're right. If she doesn't have Kong Mingming in her subconscious, then she won't have schizophrenia, nor will she have delusions. In fact, the root cause of Xiaofan's schizophrenia is Kong Mingming. If she can end it with Kong Mingming, then the wound in her heart will heal by itself." "Yeah, that's what I was thinking," Xiaobo said. "So, boss, I want to ask you to come with me, okay?" "Me? Go with you?" Lin Yi didn't expect Kong Xiaobo to have such a request. "Why would I go? Besides, do you need to bring so many outsiders to your second grandpa's birthday banquet?" Kong Xiaobo bringing Xiaofan along was barely acceptable. However, if Kong Xiaobo said that Xiaofan was his girlfriend, it was still acceptable. What would it be if Lin Yi went? Kong Xiaobo's classmate? "Boss, you said it before. The root cause of Xiaofan's schizophrenia is Kong Mingming. I'm bringing her to end it, but I'm also afraid that Xiaofan won't be able to bear the pressure of sadness. What if her illness acts up again?" Kong Xiaobo said worriedly, "Actually, boss, I also want you to give me some courage. Since you call me boss, it's not a problem for me to go with you." Lin Yi, naturally, didn't mind going with Xiaobo, but he said, "I told you before, you're bringing so many people, are you sure it'll work?" "Don't worry about this, boss." Kong Xiaobo said, "In fact, my second grandpa's family would hold many gatherings like this every year. The birthday banquet is just one of the reasons. Every time, he would invite some friends to bring their children to participate. It's mainly to improve the friendship of the next generation. Although it's called a birthday banquet, it's actually a cocktail party for networking resources. Everyone can bring their friends to participate. It's just that I didn't like to socialize like this in the past, and no one would try to make friends with me." As he said this, Kong Xiaobo laughed at himself. As a descendant of House Kong, he was the one who was ignored every year. Looking at his cousins being surrounded by a group of boys and girls, Kong Xiaobo felt a little disappointed. But it wasn't surprising. Those who came to make friends with him weren't stupid. The direct descendants of Dr. Kong were the ones who were valued. For a branch descendant like Kong Xiaobo, it was fine as long as they didn't lose face. No one would purposely try to please him. "I see. Let's go then." Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi also wanted to see what kind of person Dr. Kong was. In the future, if he cooperated with Dr. Kong, he would definitely become a competitor. "Boss, do you want to bring Tang Yun along?" Kong Xiaobo smiled and suggested. Chapter 286. Written in Blood by Liang Bro. I just want to find a partner for fun. Kong Xiaobo said, I'm afraid that Fan won't have any fun going by herself, she's best friends with Tang Yun. I'll ask her then. Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't make the decision for Tang Yun. Alright, I'll ask Fan to talk to her again. Kong Xiaobo finally had one thing off his mind. If Lin Yi wasn't with him, he really wouldn't dare bring Fan along. God knows what kind of trouble would happen. Right, here's something for you, Lin Yi said as he took out a container from the bag and handed it to Kong Xiaobo. What's this? Kong Xiaobo took it and looked at it. It looked like food. Shark meat and shark fins. Are you going to the hospital to visit Fan? Bring it along, you guys can eat together, Lin Yi said. Shark meat and shark fins? No way. Boss, where did you get this? It's pretty rare, isn't it? Kong Xiaobo's eyes were wide open. I bought it from the market. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't say that he killed the shark himself. That would be too shocking. Heh, I knew you're good to me, boss. I'll go enjoy it with Fan at noon, heh. Kong Xiaobo said happily as he put away the container. Pin Liang was very pissed today. It was like this Lin Yi was sent by the heavens to oppose him. Why was it that every time he wanted to do something, Lin Yi was always in his way? Hitchhiking. Motherfucker, how could he get a free ride? This kid was pretty shameless, hitchhiking with Meng Yao's family. The most infuriating part was that Meng Yao actually allowed him to hitchhike. Are you kidding me? Of course, Pin Liang didn't think that Lin Yi had anything to do with Meng Yao. First, Meng Yao wouldn't fall for Lin Yi. Second, Lin Yi had a girlfriend. His girlfriend was the commoner school beauty, Tang Yun. Everyone in the school knew about this, including Meng Yao. Therefore, if there was any interaction between the two of them, it could only be what Lin Yi had said, that they had hitched a ride. As for why Lin Yi was hitchhiking, Pin Liang couldn't ask. If he asked Meng Yao, she'd ignore him. Asking Lin Yi was asking for a beating. Brother Liang, what's wrong? Why do you look so worried? Xiaofu asked carefully as he looked at Pin Liang's hurt face. Now that Naipeo was gone, he was Pin Liang's only dog. Pin Liang wasn't having a good time, and Xiaofu wasn't having a good time either. He used to be arrogant, and no one dared to mess with him. Now, he had to be careful, afraid that he'd piss off a god like Lin Yi and beat them up again. How were they supposed to live like this? It's all because of that bastard Lin Yi. That bastard. I wanted to go talk to Meng Yao this morning, but that bastard just happened to be there and kicked me out. Pin Liang was furious, but he didn't dare speak too loudly. Xiaofu withered when he heard that it was Lin Yi's fault. Liang bro, we're weak right now. We're no match for him. We need to think about this. If we can't, we'll just endure it until we graduate from high school and go to college. I don't believe that Lin Yi will still be with us then. Forget it, let's not talk about him. Pin Liang didn't want to talk about Lin Yi either. The problem is, how can I move Meng Yao? She doesn't seem to have any feelings for me. I think I've done enough. Why doesn't she like me? That's... Xiaofu hesitated. Liang bro, Meng Yao's not a normal person. She's from a good family as well, so I don't think normal methods will work on her. We'll have to use some special methods if we want to move her. What's that? Xiaofu, do you have any good ideas? Pin Liang's eyes lit up. He seemed to think that Xiaofu was making sense. This. I read a book a few days ago. When the male lead was chasing after his girlfriend, he wrote a letter of blood. It was written with his own blood. After the female lead saw it, she was so touched that she became the male lead's girlfriend. I think this is a good idea. Liang bro, if you have the courage, why don't you give it a try? Letter of blood. That's a good idea. Pinliang thought about it and nodded. It's a very touching thing. I think I'd be moved by my sincerity if I were Meng Yao. Yeah, Liang bro, just write a few more lines. I'm sure Meng Yao'll say yes if she's moved. Xiaofu nodded. Alright, got it. How about this, after class, spread the news that I'm writing a letter of blood to Meng Yao. Let the whole class know about it. It'll help me build momentum. Pinliang said. That'll show my sincerity. No problem. Xiaofu nodded. He didn't dare go against Lin Yi, but he was very familiar with other things in the class. And so, after the first class, under Xiaofu's purposeful spreading of the news, Meng Yao's die-hard pursuer, Pinliang, was going to write a letter of blood to Meng Yao. It was such a sensational and romantic news. The boring life of a 12th grader in school consisted of studying for exams and preparing for exams. Even the slightest thing could cause a ripple. Of course, this ripple started quickly and ended just as quickly. This was because most of the students were doing it for a moment of novelty and wanted to have some fun. After studying intensely, they wanted to have a change of mind and relax. After that, they would once again dive into the sea of questions. Just like Lin Yi beating up Heibao bro, Lin Yi giving a love letter to Tang Yin, and Lin Yi slapping Zhou Ruoming in front of the dean. These things spread quickly, but they disappeared just as quickly. After a few days, no one paid attention to it anymore. Pinliang's letter of blood, on the other hand, only lasted for 2 classes before no one brought it up again. Perhaps it'd attract attention when he gave Meng Yao a letter of blood. Meng Yao was a little pissed off. Writing a letter of blood? What was the meaning of this? Was he trying to scare her? So what if it was a letter of blood? Did she have to agree to it? Shu, tell me, this Pinliang is too much. He's writing a letter of blood to me. Is he threatening me? Meng Yao said angrily. What's the big deal about bleeding a little? Yeah, Yao and I bleed every month. It's not a big deal. Yushu nodded. Chapter 287. You go stop him, what's wrong, Yao? Yushu didn't know that she just made Meng Yao speechless. Shu, don't say stuff like that in the future. You can't just say stuff like that. It'll be embarrassing if a guy hears this. Meng Yao said patiently. Meng Yao, on the other hand. Oh, I don't think it's a big deal. Right, I think we've run out of sanitary pads. I was going to ask Shield Bro to buy some. Yushu said nonchalantly. No way, how could you ask a guy to buy something so private for you? Meng Yao glared at Yushu. I'll call Faubert later. Ugh. Yushu blinked. Yao, isn't Faubert a guy? Yushu felt that Faubert was so pitiful and had been sent to the palace by Meng Yao a couple of times already. What would he think if he found out? That's different, Faubert's an elder. Meng Yao felt that she'd gone overboard a little, too. Faubert hadn't been treated as a man for a couple of times already. Oh, alright then. Yushu nodded, not really understanding. Let Faubert buy it then. That's more like it. Right, how do we stop Pinliang from writing that blood letter? It sounds really scary, I don't want to have nightmares after receiving a blood letter. Meng Yao said. You'll have to ask Shield Bro for that, let him handle it. Yushu's mindset was to ask Lin Yi for help. Okay, then send him a text message and let him handle it. Meng Yao nodded, thinking that Shu's idea was the only way. She'd have to ask Lin Yi for help as well. Lin Yi looked at the text on his phone, speechless. Yao asked you to stop Pinliang from writing the blood letter, it's all up to you now. He could beat Pinliang up, but stopping him from writing the blood letter was a little too much, wasn't it? There was no reason for him to do anything, was there? He couldn't just warn Pinliang that he wouldn't write a letter of blood to Meng Yao, or he'd beat him up. However, with what identity should he go? Lin Yi had a slight headache. But since Miss Chu had given the order, Lin Yi stood up and wobbled his way over to Pinliang's direction. Pinliang was holding a carving knife, hesitating whether or not he should cut his finger. Pinliang wasn't afraid of pain, but wasn't cutting his own finger a little too scary? Xiaofu, help me, I can't do it myself. Pinliang said as he handed the carving knife to Xiaofu. Oh. Gao Xiaofu didn't hesitate. After all, it wasn't his hand that was being cut. Then I'll cut it. Brother Liang, bear with it. All right. Hiss. Pinliang shuddered as blood flowed out of his fingertips. There weren't any big arteries on his fingertips, so blood wouldn't flow out like that. Brother Liang, hurry up. You'll have to start all over again if the blood dries up. Xiaofu said. Oh, okay. Pinliang quickly started writing on a piece of paper he'd prepared earlier. He'd just finished writing the word Yao when Lin Yi appeared in front of him. Pinliang raised his head subconsciously when he sensed someone in front of him, only to see Lin Yi. You. What are you doing? Pinliang jumped. What was Lin Yi doing here? Was he here to cause trouble again? Oh, nothing, I'm just seeing what you're doing. Lin Yi lowered his head and looked at the blood letter Pinliang was writing. Writing a letter of blood, what else can I do? Lin Yi, I didn't do anything to you, you better not cause trouble. Pinliang was a little afraid of Lin Yi. Oh, not bad. I admire your bravery, you're pretty good. Lin Yi patted Pinliang's body twice. I'm just here to see if you really wrote it. You didn't disappoint me, I have high hopes for you. With that, Lin Yi turned around and left before Pinliang could say anything, leaving Pinliang staring at Lin Yi's back, confused. The guy didn't come looking for trouble. He even encouraged him. What was he doing? Ah! Xiaofu shrieked suddenly, giving Pinliang a fright. Pinliang wasn't happy. Xiaofu, what are you screaming for? Liang bro, your hand. Your hand. Xiaofu's eyes were wide open as he pointed at Pinliang's hand. Liang bro, what's wrong? Pinliang lowered his head in confusion, only to be shocked by what he saw as well. His right index finger, which had been cut open, was like a water gun, spurting out blood. It had already dyed the white paper on the table red, and it flowed all over the place. Ah! Pinliang screamed, almost fainting. He didn't notice the blood gushing out of his hand. You could only feel the pain from a wound, but it was hard to tell how much blood you'd lost if you didn't look. There was a famous experiment about a person who was blindfolded, cut his wrist, and locked in a room with the sound of water dripping. When he heard the water dripping, he thought it was the sound of his own blood and was scared to death. This proved that normal people couldn't really tell how much blood they were losing. Pinliang, naturally, was no exception. When he realized that his fingers were spurting blood like swords, he was completely dumbfounded. This wasn't bleeding at all, it was like the water gun he used to play with when he was young. Pinliang didn't doubt that if he raised his hand, the blood on his fingers would spray far and wide. Am I going to die? Xiaofu, get me to the hospital. Pinliang didn't even have time to write the letter of blood, as his legs were shaking and he couldn't even stand up. Fu, hurry, call my dad, tell him to come get me. He yelled, panicking. Fu, hurry up and call my dad, tell him to come get me. Everyone in the classroom looked at Pinliang curiously, covering their mouths when they saw the blood gushing out of his finger. How could a finger bleed like this? Yao Yao, look, Pinliang's hand turned into a water gun. Yushu looked at Pinliang curiously. Meng Yao was shocked. It's not Lin Yi's doing, is it? I don't know, maybe. Shield Bro's really strong, he can even kill a shark, let alone Pinliang. Yushu said. If Pin Liang knew that Yushu was comparing him to a shark, he wouldn't know whether he'd be happy or cry. Chapter 288. Telepathy. But since the guy liked to make a big fuss about nothing, Lin Yi didn't bother with him. Meng Yao's wish had come true, anyway. He couldn't write a letter of blood anymore. Boss, what's Pin Liang doing? Is he doing acrobatics? Why do I feel like he's trained in 6 pulses before? He can even spit blood. Kong Xiaobo looked at Pin Liang sympathetically. Why was this guy so unlucky? He couldn't stop bleeding just by writing a letter of blood. Ha, who knows? I heard that when people get excited, their blood circulation speeds up. Maybe that's what happened. Lin Yi said innocently with a shrug. Pin Liang's blood letter incident turned into a farce, and soon everyone knew about it. It was as if Pin Liang's finger could spurt blood was even more eye-catching than Pin Liang's blood letter incident. What kind of stupid idea is this? I'm going to bleed to death before I'm even done. Pin Liang felt like his head was spinning, and his steps were wobbly. He almost fell flat on his face. Brother Liang, you only made a small cut on your finger. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Xiaofu said, feeling wronged. Liang bro, it's not like we've never cut our hands in fights before. There've been wounds worse than this, but when did it ever stop bleeding like this? You're right. Pin Liang thought about it and realized that it was true. It wasn't like he'd never cut his hands before. He'd lost count of how many times he'd been cut since he was a kid, and there had been many wounds worse than this one, but it had never bled like this. Besides, it wasn't bleeding at all. It was blood spitting. Liang bro, that Lin Yi kid came over earlier. Could he have done something to you? Xiaofu said, suspicious. Lin Yi. But he can't make me bleed, can he? Pin Liang shook his head. He didn't believe that Lin Yi had that kind of ability. He wouldn't be human if he could control other people's blood. That's true. Gao Xiaofu shook his head and laughed at himself for being overly sensitive. Was he a little too afraid of Lin Yi? So much so that he was suspected of such a strange thing. Forget it, let's go to the hospital quickly. If we don't go now, I won't be able to walk anymore. Pin Liang shook his head, not wanting to think about Lin Yi anymore. The guy was his nemesis, and every time he saw him, he'd be in trouble. Pin Liang didn't believe that Lin Yi was strong enough to make his hand bleed, but he thought that it was because Lin Yi had coincidentally come over to look at him, bringing him bad luck. Liang bro, your hand isn't bleeding anymore. Xiaofu looked down to see that Pin Liang's hand had stopped bleeding, and was back to normal. Pin Liang paused as he looked at his fingers that had somehow dried up. It's healed. I think so. Gao Xiaofu nodded. No way. Pin Liang raised his hand and looked at his finger suspiciously, but couldn't find anything wrong with it. He shook his head helplessly. It's healed. I don't know what happened just now, maybe it's because I had too much nutrition, and there was too much blood in my body. Some of it was automatically discharged. That was the only explanation Pin Liang could think of. He had no other way to explain it. Liang bro, are we still going to the hospital? Xiaofu asked. Why the hell should we go? Let people laugh at us. Pin Liang shook his head. Come on, let's go back. Pin Liang came back quickly, but news of his farce still spread throughout the school, and Pin Liang felt embarrassed. But he couldn't do anything about it. He had already embarrassed himself enough, and one more didn't matter. At noon, Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo walked out of the classroom together. Boss, Lu Xinwen and I made plans to go to the hospital to take care of Fun. Are you coming? I won't be going. Lin Yi remembered his date with Tang Yun. This was the first time this girl asked him to eat together. Of course, Mrs. Tang's invitation didn't count. Oh. Boss, Tang Yun is coming too. Kong Xiaobo came to the place where he and Lu Xinwen had agreed to meet every day. He saw Lu Xinwen and Tang Yun standing together. Lin Yi paused and walked over. Tang Yun, weren't you looking for me? Why are you going to the hospital too? I braised some chicken wings, and I brought them for you guys to try. Let's go to the hospital to eat. Tang Yun blushed. In fact, she made it for Lin Yi, but she remembered that Fun was still in the hospital. She couldn't eat alone, so she wanted to share it with everyone at the hospital. No way. What a coincidence. Boss brought shark meat too. Kong Xiaobo paused and waved the box in his hand. Shark meat? Lu Xinwen and Tang Yun paused. Where did you get shark meat? Oh, I bought it yesterday and roasted some. There's also shark fins. Lin Yi explained. There were 2 boxes, one for Kong Xiaobo and the other for Tang Yun, but since we're going to the hospital, let's eat together. This box is quite a lot. Kong Xiaobo waved the box in his hand. Boss, why don't you bring your box home for sis-in-law? The 5 of us can't eat that much at all. That's fine. Tang Yun, bring it home for uncle and auntie to try. Lin Yi passed the box to Tang Yun. Tang Yun was a bit embarrassed when Kong Xiaobo called her sis-in-law. She took the box from Lin Yi and was pleasantly surprised. She didn't think that things would be so coincidental. She thought of him when she cooked, and he thought of her too. Did this mean that their hearts were connected? Girls in love always liked these beautiful fantasies. Lin Yi's casual action made Tang Yun very happy. Especially when she heard that there was shark fins in it. It must be expensive, right? Her parents probably haven't eaten it before, so she could bring it home for them to try. The 4 of them stopped a taxi. Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen didn't want to spend money, but they didn't reject Lin Yi's insistence and explanation. Lin Yi's explanation was simple. From school to the hospital, the bus cost 2 yuan per person. Taking a taxi, which was the car fare, was only 10 yuan. It was only 2 yuan more. Why would they take the bus? Chapter 289. You're not mine. Lin Yi got in the car, wondering when he'd get a license plate for that old van. The van he got from Heibao was still parked in Mengyao's yard. It didn't fit in with the elegant villa, but Mengyao didn't say anything about it. Mengyao was a lot more easygoing than before, and she'd slowly accepted Lin Yi as a part of the villa. She pretended not to see the old van Lin Yi had left in the yard. After some thought, he took out his phone and dialed Lingshan's number. Lin Yi's phone was broken, and he was using one of Yushu's obsolete phones. The pink shell phone made Kong Xiaobo, who was sitting beside Lin Yi, widen his eyes. Tang Yun and Xinwen, on the other hand, didn't notice. Hello? Lin Yi? Lingshan picked up Lin Yi's phone, a little annoyed at what happened yesterday. I've sent your picture to your inbox, just check it. Is there anything else? Oh, I'm calling you about something else, Lin Yi said. I have an old van, no brand. Can you get me one? I'm a criminal police officer, not a traffic cop. Lingshan exploded at Lin Yi's words. Do you have nothing better to do? I'm very busy every day. You can get the traffic cop to register the car, okay? The DMV's on the west side of the city. The van isn't new. Where should I register it? Who else would I go to if not you? Lin Yi was speechless. Was this girl stupid? Did she have a problem understanding? Why would he go to her if the car could be registered normally? There's nothing I can do. Don't bother me, there's a big case, I'm very busy. Lingshan said impatiently. Remember, I'm a criminal police officer, don't make me do things that have nothing to do with my job. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Oh, I remember. You should also remember that I am a student, not a police officer, and not Ultraman. In the future, don't ask me to do things that have nothing to do with my studies. Lin Yi was a little angry. Didn't I just ask you for a small favor? Do you have to say so much? Ling Shan really wanted to smash the phone, but she held herself back. You didn't steal the car, did you? No, there should have been formal procedures in the past. You will know when you check the file. It was opened by Black Panther. Lin Yi smiled. This girl finally compromised. Then drive over in the afternoon. But if I find out it's a stolen car, I'll confiscate it. Ling Shan said hatefully. Oh, okay. Lin Yi hung up the phone with a smile. Boss, your phone, why did you change it to this one? Kong Xiaobo wasn't interested in Lin Yi's phone call. He had seen Lin Yi drive better cars before, so he wasn't interested in Lin Yi's broken van. Didn't I say that my phone is broken? This is a friend's abandoned phone, I borrowed it. Lin Yi said. Let me see. Kong Xiaobo extended his hand. Lin Yi didn't think much of it and passed the phone to Kong Xiaobo. Xiaobo's eyes went wide as he flipped open the phone. The picture on the screen was of Yushu. Kong Xiaobo wanted to ask something, but he stopped when he saw Tang Yun on the other side of Lin Yi. Kong Xiaobo wouldn't dare to ask this kind of quarreling question, no matter how stupid he was. It wouldn't be good if Tang Yun misunderstood. However, Kong Xiaobo still poked Lin Yi and gave the phone back to Lin Yi with a smirk. Lin Yi also saw Yushu's picture on the screen and smiled bitterly. The owner of this phone is the same person as the beetle. Lin Yi was embarrassed that Kong Xiaobo saw Yushu's picture twice. It seemed like he had to be more careful in the future. Lin Yi didn't think much when he borrowed the phone from Yushu. He just wanted to use it for a few days, and he was too lazy to change the settings. Who would have thought that Kong Xiaobo would see it? Lin Yi awkwardly opened the picture menu and was about to change the background, but Kong Xiaobo's eyes widened when he saw it. There was more than one picture of Yushu. Not only was there Yushu, there was also Mengyao. And they were all pictures of daily life, eating together, shopping together, and even selfies at home. Lin Yi sweated and quickly closed the phone and put it in his pocket. He looked at Kong Xiaobo awkwardly, but Kong Xiaobo had a shocked expression on his face. Now, he wouldn't believe that this phone was Lin Yi's. Not to mention the fact that this phone was clearly a color for girls, just the pictures in it were definitely not Lin Yi's. Lin Yi couldn't have so many pictures of Mengyao and Yushu. Although they weren't the kind that exposed their private life, they were still very private pictures. How did Lin Yi get them? But if this phone wasn't Lin Yi's, then who was the owner? However, Kong Xiaobo wasn't someone who didn't know the gravity of the situation. Although he had a lot of questions in his heart, he could only bury them in his heart. Tang Yun would definitely misunderstand if he said it out loud. The taxi stopped in front of the hospital, and Lin Yi paid the driver 10 kuai before getting out of the car. Lin Yi? Is that you? A pleasant voice sounded behind Lin Yi. Lin Yi turned around and saw Guan Xian. It's you. Huh, what a coincidence. Yeah, Lin Yi, are you here to visit your friend? I'm going to give her acupuncture treatment, let's go together. Guan Xian couldn't contain her joy when she saw Lin Yi. She had been wandering around the hospital for the past few days. She didn't know why, but maybe it was because she wanted to see Lin Yi. She took the initiative to take care of this ward's acupuncture treatment, and she also became familiar with Lu Xinwen, Kong Xiaobo, and Tang Yun. However, the prettiest girl, Tang Yun, looked at her with a smile on her face, but there was a trace of wariness and hostility in her eyes. Guan Xian naturally understood why Tang Yun would have such a reaction. Tang Yun was afraid that Guan Xian would steal her boyfriend. In fact, Guan Xian didn't really want to fight with Tang Yun. She wasn't sure of her own feelings, but she felt gratitude towards Lin Yi from the bottom of her heart. She just wanted to see him more and talk to him. As for other thoughts, Guan Xian didn't think too much about it. Tang Yun pursed her lips, and her face turned pale. Lu Xinwen naturally noticed the change in Tang Yun's expression. She squeezed Tang Yun's hand and whispered, "What, are you afraid that she will steal your boyfriend?" Chapter 290. I'll show you. Tang Yun's words weren't entirely sincere. Xinwen could feel the sweat forming on Tang Yun's palms. Tang Yun was nervous. Xinwen sighed. She'd never thought that a girl as beautiful as Tang Yun would be in danger of being poached. But then she looked at Guan Xian, who wasn't any less beautiful than Tang Yun, and how cute she was in a nurse uniform. Which man wouldn't fall for her? Don't worry, Yun Yun. I'll beat the crap out of him if he dares to mess around with me. Lu Xinwen waved her fist valiantly as she consoled in a low voice. Ha! Tang Yun couldn't help but chuckle. Xinwen was strong, but could she beat Lin Yi? He could send Zhou Ruoming flying with one slap. Tang Yun shook her head. Was she being too nervous? Was Lin Yi really that good? Was there anyone who wanted to steal him from her? Plus, they weren't really boyfriend and girlfriend. They were just close friends. If he really liked Guan Xian, there was nothing she could do. She couldn't just stick to him, right? Boss, you're amazing. Tell me the truth, is there something going on between you and Guan Xian, sis? Kong Xiaobo wasn't an idiot. Seeing Guan Xian's passion for Lin Yi, he'd naturally thought of something. Sis. She's older than you. Lin Yi glared at Kong Xiaobo. It's nothing. I met her when I came here to get my bandages changed. We're pretty close. Injured? Where? Kong Xiaobo laughed as his eyes scanned Lin Yi's body. You bastard. Lin Yi slapped the back of Xiaobo's head. He didn't want to waste any more time with the guy. He walked over to Guan Xian's side. Sorry for troubling you with my friend's situation. Having an acquaintance in the hospital, even if it was just a nurse, was a lot more convenient. Lin Yi knew that. He couldn't just call Elder Guan for everything, could he? If it was a small matter, the nurse would be able to help. It's nothing. It's what I should do. Guan Xian blushed, a little embarrassed. I'm not going to affect your relationship with your girlfriend, am I? Guan Xian looked at Tang Yun's unhappy face and didn't know what to do. Although she was older than Tang Yun by a few years, she was still a girl who had just left school. She wasn't that mature, and she was worried that Lin Yi would distance himself from her because of Tang Yun. Heh. Lin Yi smiled. I won't. In the ward, Guan Xian put the drip on Fun and left in a hurry. Although she wanted to stay and talk more with Lin Yi, she had other wards to take care of. It was a serious matter, and she couldn't delay it. Guan Xian knew the importance of it. Therefore, when Kong Xiaobo and Lu Xinwen asked her to stay for lunch, Guan Xian waved her hand and rejected. I really have other wards to go to. You guys eat first, I'll eat later. Tang Yun, on the other hand, felt a little embarrassed. She thought that Guan Xian was embarrassed because she and Lin Yi were here. Women were naturally sensitive, and naturally, they could tell that Guan Xian was interested in Lin Yi. However, Tang Yun felt bad seeing Guan Xian being so eager to draw a line between them. They were all women, and there was no need to make things difficult for women. It was their own business that they liked Lin Yi. Moreover, Guan Xian didn't express anything. Why did she have to be so aggressive? Guan Xian was busy with Fun's matter, and Tang Yun saw it. Tang Yun hesitated for a while and stood up. Guan Xian, sis, why don't we eat together? Thank you, Guan Xian smiled. Patience can't be delayed. Eating is a small matter. Why don't you guys treat me to a big meal when Fun is discharged? That's fine, Tang Yun nodded and didn't try to persuade her to stay. It seemed that she was thinking too much. Guan Xin really had something to do and couldn't stay. Lu Xinwen looked at the sentimental Tang Yun and sighed. Yin Yun had really sunk into it. If it was in the past, why would she think about these things? Fun was very happy that everyone came to visit her at noon. After a few days, Lin Yi noticed that Fun had become a lot more cheerful and talkative. She could tell jokes to everyone, and the room was filled with laughter. Of course, this was all Kong Xiaobo's credit. Kong Xiaobo would accompany Xiao Fan every day, chatting with her and telling her about the things that happened in the school. Lin Yi, I didn't expect you to be the school's big bully. Xiao Fan naturally understood Lin Yi from Kong Xiaobo. You can't bully Yin Yun. Otherwise, we won't let you go. Huh, I won't, Lin Yi smiled. You should say that to Kong Xiaobo, right? Xiao Fan was a bit shy after hearing Lin Yi's words. She lowered her head slightly. After lunch, Lu Xinwen went to the washroom to wash the containers and utensils. Kong Xiaobo sat at the head of Xiao Fan's bed hesitantly. It was obvious that he wanted to talk about the gathering this weekend. Lin Yi held Tang Yun's hand. Tang Yun trembled slightly and rolled her eyes at Lin Yi. Why are you holding my hand? Xiaobo has something to say to Xiao Fan. Let's go over there. Lin Yi pointed at the bed opposite them. Oh. Tang Yun just noticed that Kong Xiaobo seemed to have something to say. She ignored Lin Yi's hand and sat on the bed opposite them. Although they were quite far away, they could still hear what Kong Xiaobo said. Kong Xiaobo told Xiao Fan about his second grandpa's birthday. Naturally, he also told her about Kong Mingming. This was the first time Xiao Fan knew about Kong Xiaobo's identity. He was that person's cousin. Kong Xiaobo invited Xiao Fan to his second grandpa's birthday party. Xiao Fan hesitated and lowered her head. She was nervous and didn't know what to do. Tang Yun didn't think that Kong Xiaobo would make such a bold decision. He wanted to bring Xiao Fan to his family's banquet. Moreover, it was a banquet with Kong Mingming. Tang Yun sympathized with Xiao Fan's nervous and hesitant look, but she couldn't say anything. If you dare to treat me like how Kong Mingming treated Xiao Fan, I'll die in front of you. Tang Yin didn't know where the courage came from, but she suddenly turned around and looked at Lin Yi, speaking word by word. Lin Yi was stunned. I don't want your promise. Tang Yun interrupted Lin Yi. Kong Mingming promised Xiao Fan before, but he abandoned her. But I'm not Xiao Fan. Have you thought it through? If you don't want me in the future, I'll really die in front of you. Chapter 291. Chapter 291, Psychopathic Killer. I won't. Lin Yi clenched his fists. This was his last mission, and he'd be free once it was over. He'd be able to stay in this city and live with the girl he loved. Tang Yun didn't say anything else. She felt sorry for Fun, and she didn't want the same thing to happen to her. This was the reason why she kept confirming Lin Yi's feelings. She had to be certain, because she was already unable to extricate herself and was sinking deeper and deeper. Ling Shan was troubled. Why was the year so unlucky, right after she took over the criminal police team? First, Heibao got away, and Lin Yi caught him. He thought he'd be able to relax for a few days, but a psychopathic murderer suddenly went berserk in the hospital, injuring one of the police officers in charge of guarding him, and escaped. The psychopathic killer was already heavily injured when he was hospitalized. Of course, he was injured by Ling Shan, and Ling Shan knew very well how strong she was. She simply couldn't stand the sight of this person. He killed an entire family, not even sparing a 3-year-old boy. His methods were extremely cruel, too, putting him in a washing machine and stirring him to death. Naturally, Ling Shan wouldn't go easy on someone as cruel as this. The guy resisted during the arrest, and that was exactly what Ling Shan wanted. After a round of punches and kicks, the guy was sent to the hospital. The guy would be sentenced to death in court, but letting him die like that was too easy for him. And so, Ling Shan risked punishment and sent the guy to the hospital. Fortunately, the guy was too cruel, and the public wasn't talking about Ling Shan at all. Instead, they were criticizing the psychopathic killer. Huaijuan, on the other hand, put in a few good words for Ling Shan, and the whole thing was over. The psychopathic killer stayed in the hospital for a week, and logically speaking, he wouldn't be able to recover even after a month, but then he suddenly went berserk, beating up the police officer and running away. There was no news of him since. Ling Shan's face darkened when she received the report. Another one ran away. Wouldn't people laugh at her for being useless? When Yang Huaijuan was the captain, he'd managed the criminal police team's affairs in an orderly fashion. Ling Shan had only been in charge for a few days, and there were already so many problems. She'd just solved the previous problem, and now there was another one. How could Ling Shan not be pissed? Lin Yi just had to call at this time, asking about the car brand and whatnot, and Ling Shan almost cursed him and hung up on him. Police officers had been deployed at all the major traffic arteries. The moment that psychopathic murderer appeared, he would be discovered. However, the strange thing was that after the psychopathic murderer ran away from the hospital, it was as if he had disappeared. No one had seen him again. Logically speaking, the physical characteristics of this psychopathic murderer were very obvious. His head was wrapped in bandages, and he was wearing a hospital gown. Such an obvious person, if he ran on the streets, there would be witnesses. Unfortunately, there were none. One could imagine the pressure on Ling Shan, and she didn't want to trouble Huaijuan anymore. She could only endure the pressure and send more police officers to search for the psychopathic murderer. Ring dash, the phone rang abruptly, and Ling Shan quickly picked it up. Ling Shan speaking. Captain Song, it's Lu Wangli. Something's happened. Wangli's voice came from the phone. What's wrong? Ling Shan's heart skipped a beat. What she'd been afraid of had come true. She'd had enough problems already, why was this happening again? Guanya didn't actually run away, he's been hiding in the hospital. Wanli said urgently. He actually made a move on Wuxia again, about to kill him, but a nurse who entered Wuxia's room found him. He's using the nurse as a hostage, and he's asking us to prepare a helicopter for him to leave. Wanli reported the situation in one breath. It wasn't very detailed, but time was tight, and he didn't have the time to explain in detail. Guanya was that psychopathic murderer, and Wuxia was one of the victims of this case. Guanya had stabbed him in the heart, but the position of the heart was a bit off, so he didn't die right away. He was sent to the hospital for emergency treatment, and it was a good thing that he survived, but she didn't expect Guanya to still not let Wuxia go, even in a situation like this. Just what kind of hatred did he have for Guanya? Ling Shan had asked Wuxia more than once, wanting to know if he had a grudge with Guanya, but Wuxia denied that he knew Guanya. When she asked him if he had any enemies, Wuxia wouldn't say that he was tired, but that his heart was in pain. Ling Shan couldn't do anything about it, and decided to wait for him to fully recover before asking. But one thing was for sure, Wuxia must be hiding something. As for Huang Guanya, they couldn't get any answers. Other than repeating how he put the 3-year-old boy into the washing machine and stirred him to death, he also talked about the process of raping and killing Lu Wuxia's wife. Even though the criminal police had dealt with many cases, they were still horrified by the horrifying process of the crime. Judging from Huang Guanya and Lu Wuxia's testimonies, the two of them were completely unrelated. Huang Guanya was also treated as a psychopath who killed people, while Lu Wuxia didn't even know Huang Guanya, let alone have any grudges. But now, Guanya had gone to Wuxia's room again. This wasn't a simple matter anymore. It was strange and unusual. Lu Wangli was the captain of the first squad in charge of searching around the hospital. He'd been the first one to arrive when something had happened. He didn't dare tarry, and sent a negotiator to negotiate with Guanya while reporting the situation to Ling Shan. "I'll be right there." Ling Shan hung up and got ready to rush to the hospital. No wonder she couldn't find Guanya anywhere. He didn't run away from the hospital at all. There should be quite a lot of people in the hospital with bandages on their heads, so it was normal that no one would notice him. Lin Yi and Tang Yun were sitting on the bed, swearing their undying love, when Xinwen stumbled into the room. Not good, something big happened. Lin Yi and Tang Yun, as well as Kong Xiaobo and Fun, paused and looked at Xinwen, confused. They didn't know what she meant by something big. It said that a psychopathic murderer kidnapped a nurse in the ward. A group of police officers has already surrounded the ward. It's at the end of the corridor on our floor. I was scared to death, so I ran back to inform you. Lu Xinwen said with lingering fear. Psychopathic murderer. Lin Yi paused. Why is he in the hospital? Chapter 292. Guan Xian's abduction. Lin Yi chuckled to himself. Indeed, it was fortunate that he hadn't come to this room, otherwise he'd be in danger. Lin Yi wouldn't hesitate to kill anyone who threatened Tang Yun. "Boss, should we go take a look?" Xiaobo was a little curious. It wasn't often that he saw cops and robbers fighting each other. "Let's go." Lin Yi didn't mind. He turned to Tang Yun. "You coming?" "I." Tang Yun was a little scared, but curious at the same time. "You guys want to go watch?" Xinwen was surprised. She'd told them not to go out of goodwill, but they'd volunteered to go watch. "There's the police in front, it should be fine, right?" Kong Xiaobo said as he walked out. Sure enough, when he opened the door, the corridor was already full of onlookers. Some of them were wearing hospital gowns, and there were also doctors and nurses passing by. However, the innermost part of the corridor was separated by the police to prevent these onlookers from going over. Ling Shan ran all the way to the hospital with Lu Wanli by her side, reporting the situation to her in detail as they walked. The nurse who was kidnapped is called Guan Xian, 20 years old, just graduated this year. When she went to change Lu Bujia's bandages, she saw Guanya trying to harm Lu Bujia, so she was taken hostage. Wanli explained as they walked. "What? Guan Xian?" Lin Yi bumped into Ling Shan as he walked out of the room, surprised to hear Wanli mention Guan Xian's name. "Lin Yi? Why are you here?" Ling Shan was surprised to see Lin Yi here as well. She hadn't expected him to be here. Tang Yun was a little jealous of Lin Yi's concern for Guan Xian, but she didn't say anything. Her heart tightened when she heard that Guan Xian was the one who was kidnapped. She was still a little hostile towards Guan Xian, but it was undeniable that the two had become friends after spending some time together. No matter what, Tang Yun was still worried about Guan Xian. Lin Yi didn't answer Ling Shan's question, instead turning to Wanli. "Lu bro, you said Guan Xian was the hostage. Why, you know her?" Wanli was quite familiar with Lin Yi now, since he'd driven him and Shark home the day before yesterday. "Yeah, she's a friend of mine." Lin Yi nodded. "Should I go take a look?" Ling Shan frowned, but didn't say anything. Lin Yi was a decent fighter, and he could at least protect himself. If he knew the hostage, things might turn for the better. Guanya knew who he was, and he'd be on his guard if he were to make a move. Huaijuan, however, was the only one in the police force who was better than him. If she wanted to get close to Guanya, Lin Yi might be the best candidate. But honestly speaking, Ling Shan didn't want Lin Yi's help. One, she was worried about his abilities, and the other, if the guy really did help her again, he'd only ask her to do more things for him in the future. "Don't talk to me like that." Guanya looked at the negotiator in front of him with disdain. "Get me 500,000 in cash and a helicopter full of fuel, or I'll kill this girl." Guanya licked his lips, a fierce light in his eyes. He tightened his grip on Guan Xian's neck, and a thin line of blood appeared. The negotiator was also sweating profusely. He had not expected Huang Guanya to be so unmoved by force or persuasion. He had not listened to a single word he had said to him. Instead, he had told him about how he had killed a 3-year-old boy in a washing machine. "All right, I'll do it." Ling Shan's voice sounded. "But you have to ensure the safety of the hostage." Ling Shan didn't have a choice, she had to stall the criminal first. If Guanya hurt the hostage, she'd be held responsible. She was only a temporary captain right now, and she'd probably never get promoted. She'd even be demoted. "Don't come near me." Guanya's eyes flashed with hatred when he saw Ling Shan. He was a little afraid of this woman, and he wasn't a match for her. Letting her get close would put him in danger. "All right, I won't go." Ling Shan frowned. She'd wanted to get close without anyone noticing and subdue Guanya, but Guanya was smart enough to know that Ling Shan was a good fighter. He didn't give her a chance at all. "Tell your men to put their guns down and back off," Guanya said. "All right, put your guns down." Ling Shan waved her hand at her men. They had to play it safe right now, and they couldn't just shoot Guanya if they didn't have the confidence to kill him in one shot. "Get me some food, I'm hungry," Guanya said. "Don't even think about doing anything to the food, I'll give it to this girl first. Call the hospital canteen now and tell them to send the food here directly, don't do anything." "All right, I'll do it." Ling Shan nodded, thinking of a plan in her head. Ling Shan was quite happy when she heard that Guanya wanted to eat, since she only needed to do something to the food, but she didn't expect the guy to be this smart. Calling the hospital to deliver food to her face to face. It seemed like it would be hard to do anything in such a short amount of time. "Don't mind me, hurry up and shoot. The patient in the room was stabbed by him, and he'll be in danger if we don't save him," Guan Xian called out suddenly. Ling Shan paused, remembering that Wuxia was still in the room. Her face turned ugly. She'd been so focused on dealing with Guanya that she'd forgotten about Wuxia's situation. "Fuck. Do you want to die, you bitch? I'll rape you first, and then I'll cut off your flesh piece by piece." Guanya wasn't expecting the nurse to go back on her word, and was pissed. He pressed the knife to Guan Xian's neck, pressing down hard enough to see the blood dripping down. "Don't be rash. You don't want the deal anymore, do you?" Ling Shan stopped Guanya. What happened before was indeed a good opportunity. She could have killed Guanya if she'd ignored the casualties, but Ling Shan didn't dare take the risk. She really didn't dare. She didn't dare to make any more mistakes. "Humph, don't threaten me." Guanya curled his lips in disdain. Chapter 293. A kiss. "Get him to bring the food to my room," Guanya ordered. He didn't want to get distracted, so he had to get someone to bring it to his room for safety. "I'm not going. I'm not going, don't look for me." The waiter was quite young, evidently new to society. He'd never been in a situation like this before. Huang Guanya's roar scared him so much that he fell to the ground. If it weren't for a policeman beside him who quickly helped him up, he would have dropped the lunch box in his hand. Guanya was speechless. There was someone this cowardly. He hadn't even done anything to the guy, and he'd gotten this scared just from a box of food? Wasn't he a little too much of a coward? "Hurry up, get him to bring me the food, I'm hungry," Guanya yelled. "No. I'm not going, definitely not even if you beat me to death." The waiter shook his head, fear in his eyes. There was actually a puddle of water under him. The police officer couldn't take it anymore. The guy was pissing his pants. He frowned at Guanya. "Why don't I bring it in for you?" "Don't worry, I don't have a gun, I'll hand it over right in front of you." "No, you bring it to me." "Do I know you?" "Who knows if you'll ambush me?" Guanya was no idiot, there was no way he'd let the police get close to him, that was suicide. Ling Shan was helpless as well. You saw it yourself, there's no way he'll bring it to you, we can't force him to, can we? Do you want me to send you some? You're even worse. Guanya rejected the suggestion immediately. How about this, get some random bystander to bring it in. As soon as Huang Guanya said this, the crowd that had been watching from the sidelines immediately backed away. No one wanted to be called out to be a strong man. It was fine for these people to watch the fun, but it was absolutely impossible for them to do something dangerous. No one wanted to die, and delivering food to a gangster like this was a suicide mission. Ling Shan looked at the people who'd been watching the show retreating, feeling a little pissed off. She'd told them to stay away, but they didn't, coming so close to watch the show. Why were they running away faster than rabbits now? But, there was nothing she could do about it. All she could do was complain in her heart. All of a sudden, Ling Shan turned her head and looked at Lin Yi not too far away. Although he hated Lin Yi, he had to admit that Lin Yi was very skilled. Even if he was still a distance away from him, it should be enough to deal with Huang Guanya, right? He was a suitable candidate to deliver food. One had to say, Guanya and Ling Shan thought alike this time. The crowd dispersed, leaving only Lin Yi standing there like an idiot. Guanya thought that it was just the young man's bravery, and didn't think much of it. Student over there, bring my food in here, I'll give it to you. It's you. Stop looking, I'm talking to you. Me. Lin Yi smiled inwardly, but put on a surprised face as he pointed at himself. Yes, hurry up, don't waste time. Guanya roared. You won't hurt me, will you? Lin Yi asked weakly, a little hesitant. I won't. Hurry up. Guanya said impatiently. Then. All right. You said it, you won't hurt me. Lin Yi nodded. Ling Shan was overjoyed as she gave Lin Yi a look, but Lin Yi didn't seem to see her at all. He went to get the food. Tang Yun wasn't expecting Lin Yi to be chosen by the gangster, panicking a little. She didn't want Lin Yi to take the risk. There were so many police officers here, it wouldn't be Lin Yi's turn, would it? She held on to Lin Yi's hand nervously. Lin Yi. It's fine. Don't worry about my skills. Lin Yi whispered to Tang Yun. Tang Yun paused. She was right, she was too worried. Lin Yi was able to beat someone as cruel as Heibao half to death, and he was able to save her from the building without a scratch. He must be very strong, and she didn't have to worry about anything. Plus, Heibao didn't even pose a threat to Lin Yi with a gun, let alone this knife-wielding guy, but... Then. You're the hero saving the damsel in distress, what if? What if she marries you? Tang Yun started worrying about something else. This was the legendary hero saving the damsel in distress. Wasn't that the reason why she liked him? What if Guan Xian joined in and fought with her? Tang Yun couldn't care less about her embarrassment anymore. I can't just leave her to die, can I? Lin Yi didn't expect Tang Yun to be so meticulous. He squeezed her soft, moist hand. Then I won't. Then you should. Actually, Guan Xian is a good person. She's still worried about the patient in the room in a situation like this. Tang Yun respected Guan Xian, she was a kind girl. Hey, aren't you two going to die together? We'll talk about it after you send me food. Guanya wasn't too happy to see Lin Yi and a girl whispering sweet nothings to each other. Are you done yet? Let's talk about it when I come out. Even the criminals don't want to. Lin Yi smiled. Yeah. Tang Yun nodded shyly, be careful, then I'll be careful if you kiss me. Lin Yi smiled evilly at Tang Yun. Tang Yun was awkward, this guy was still thinking about stuff like that at a time like this? She held herself back, then. I'll wait for you to come out safely, Okay, wait for me. Lin Yi smiled and let go of Tang Yun's hand. He walked towards the officer and took the food from him before walking towards Guanya. Guanya was getting impatient as he pulled Guan Xian back, giving Lin Yi the space at the door. Come in and close the door. Okay. Lin Yi walked in hesitantly and closed the door. 10 seconds later, Lin Yi came out again and ran to Tang Yun. I'm out. Can you kiss me now? Lin Yi's voice wasn't loud, but Ling Shan could still hear him clearly. She was about to explode from the rage she was feeling. Her original plan was for Lin Yi to find a chance to take Guanya's blade, or kill Guanya. But Lin Yi. Did he really just give him a box of food, and leave right after that? Chapter 294. Chapter 294, The Legendary Love Triangle, What do you mean? Lin Yi looked at Ling Shan, a little pissed off. He was in the middle of a romantic relationship with Tang Yun, so why was this girl always trying to ruin things? He glanced at her and said, if you have something to say, can't you say it later? Can't you see I'm busy? Busy? Was this guy treating this as serious business? Ling Shan almost fainted. She wanted to kick Lin Yi a couple times, but Lin Yi wasn't part of the police, she couldn't do anything to him. Ling Shan couldn't help but say coldly, Lin Yi, don't you know how to prioritize when it comes to relationships? You really went to deliver food to him? Couldn't you have found a chance to kill Guanya? Of course I did. Are you done yet? Are you trying to sabotage me? Lin Yi was about to explode. Was there something wrong with this girl? Guan Xian was still in there, so how could she let Guanya do whatever he wanted? Did she even have a brain? Killed him. Ling Shan blinked, not understanding what Lin Yi was getting at. But at that moment, the door opened completely, and Guan Xian rushed out, pouncing on Lin Yi as soon as she saw Lin Yi. You scared me to death. You scared me to death. Guan Xian hugged Lin Yi tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Guan Xian was no longer the strong and righteous girl she'd been a moment ago, she'd turned into a fragile girl, she'd thrown caution to the wind and asked the police to kill Guanya because she was worried about the patient's well-being. That was the duty of a nurse, a sign of the kindness and selflessness of human nature. But now, she'd turned into a normal girl, looking for a place to hide from the wind and rain after the fright. She turned her head away, not saying anything. Ha! Lin Yi looked at Tang Yun helplessly, only to see her turn her head away with a pout, not saying anything. What could Tang Yun say? Although she felt a little wronged and a little jealous, Guan Xian had just been saved by Lin Yi. She needed to be comforted. Tang Yun wasn't a petty person, so she could only pretend that she didn't see anything. But Tang Yun didn't understand. How did Lin Yi save Guan Xian? He only entered the ward for 10 seconds and then came out. I thought he was in a hurry to ask for a kiss. But now it seems that isn't the case. No matter how unbelievable it was, Guan Xian had managed to escape. There was only one possibility, the criminal had been taken care of by Lin Yi. Tang Yin didn't believe it, Ling Shan didn't believe it, and none of the police officers present believed it. It was too weird, too unbelievable. Ling Shan was just about to say something sarcastic when she saw Guan Xian running out after her. What the hell was going on? Ling Shan was completely dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? Ling Shan wasn't in the mood to ask Lin Yi anymore, she took the lead and charged into the room, but what she saw made her freeze up. Guanya was on the ground, the dagger in his hand falling to the side. His death couldn't have been more gruesome, his eyes bulging out, and his face filled with shock and rage. He didn't accept this, and he died with his eyes wide open. The way he died made Ling Shan speechless. It could be said that Guanya was killed in one hit, and the weapon made Ling Shan speechless, as well as a little disbelieving. It was a pair of chopsticks, the same chopsticks Lin Yi had brought with his lunchbox. At this moment, the chopsticks were directly stabbed into Huang Guanya's heart. Judging from the length of the chopsticks had directly pierced through Huang Guanya's heart. It was probably going to come out from his back. Lin Yi did this? How did he do it? Ling Shan's mind was filled with questions. 10 or so seconds, excluding the time it took to open the door and walk out, he had to put down the food, attack, snatch Guanya's dagger away, push Guan Xian away, and stab the chopsticks into Guanya's heart. In a matter of seconds, he did all of this. All in one go. Ling Shan was biased against Lin Yi, but she had to admit that it was too fast. Guanya wasn't even able to scream before he was dead. Ling Shan asked herself if she'd been the one delivering the food, would she have been able to do it this fast? And without harming the hostages? Ling Shan really wanted to say that she could do it, but she hesitated, shaking her head. Ling Shan ignored Guanya's body for now and ran over to Wuxia's bed. The bed was already dyed red with blood, and Guanya had stabbed him a few times in the abdomen, and it was bleeding profusely. Call the doctor. Ling Shan yelled at Wang Li, who'd rushed in after her. Yes. Wang Li was surprised by Lin Yi's strength as well, but he was even more puzzled. Wasn't Lin Yi Captain Song's boyfriend? Why was he asking for a kiss from another pretty girl in front of Captain Song? Could it be that they were in a love triangle? No wonder Captain Song had such a bad temper, giving Lin Yi a hard time. Wang Li didn't stop his footsteps even for a second, calling the doctor the moment he reached the door. The doctors and nurses had already been notified by the police and were waiting not far away, and they all rushed over as soon as the matter was over. Guanya. Ling Shan didn't even think about saving him. There was no need to do anything at all, he was dead already. Guanya's life or death didn't matter to her. The guy was a psycho, and other than saying some disgusting things, she wouldn't get any useful information out of him. As long as Wuxia was fine, it would be the key to the case. The doctors and nurses pushed Wuxia to the surgery room, and the remaining police officers started cleaning up the scene and collecting the body. Ahem. Tang Yun couldn't hold it in anymore. How could he keep hugging her like this? What was he trying to do, even in front of her? Nothing had happened yet, and he was already flirting. Guan Xian heard Tang Yun's coughing and came back to her senses, realizing that she was hugging Lin Yi tightly. She let go, embarrassed. It was just her instinct. Lin Yi saved her, and she subconsciously thought that Lin Yi's embrace was her safe haven. She didn't think too much about it, but hugging Lin Yi in front of his girlfriend was a little embarrassing. Chapter 295. Sending back and forth. The two were too far apart. They were about the same age, but they had different statuses. It was impossible for them to be together. On the other hand, Tang Yun was a good match for him. They'd have a bright future together if they got into the same university. Guan Xian sighed softly, feeling a little dejected. This was the first time she'd felt something for a man, and it wasn't hers. He's not my boyfriend. Tang Yun said, embarrassed by Guan Xian's apology. Haha. Guan Xian smiled. This girlfriend of Lin Yi was quite an interesting one. Tang Yun was getting embarrassed by Guan Xian's smile. Guan Xian sis, what are you laughing at? If he's not, then he's not. You can take him if you like. Take him? If he's not your boyfriend, how can you just give him to me? Guan Xian couldn't help but tease Tang Yun. Guan Xian was just a girl who hadn't experienced much of the world. At home, in the hospital, and in front of her friends, she was still a kid. But in front of Tang Yun, who was 2 years younger than her, she'd naturally put on the airs of an older sister. Tang Yun paused. He wasn't her boyfriend, so why did she have to send him back and forth? Lin Yi smiled bitterly on the sideline. He wasn't a commodity. How could she send him back and forth? Miss Guan Xian, is it? Please come with us for a statement. Ling Shan walked over, frowning as she looked at Guan Xian, who'd just gotten off Lin Yi's body. This pretty nurse was related to Lin Yi as well. Is there something wrong with your head? Lin Yi turned around. Can't you see that idiot's injured her neck? Idiot? Ling Shan paused, smiling bitterly inside. Only Lin Yi would call Guanya an idiot. The man who'd made her feel like she was facing a great enemy was nothing more than an idiot in Lin Yi's eyes. But Ling Shan couldn't say anything. After all, Lin Yi had taken care of Guanya in a matter of seconds. In front of Lin Yi, Guanya really was an idiot. However, Lin Yi's words were a little unpleasant to the ear. What did he mean by his brain wasn't sick? This guy has asked me more than once if I'm crazy. Don't be so sarcastic, right? Lin Yi, what did you say? Ling Shan glared at Lin Yi. You have to come with me for a statement. Do you know that you killed someone? I am a good Samaritan, all right? Lin Yi shrugged. Besides, you are the one who told me to kill him. When did I tell you to kill him? Ling Shan asked. You didn't ask me to kill him, so why are you asking me if I can't find a chance to kill Huang Guanya? Lin Yi curled his lips. He didn't want to argue with Ling Shan about pointless things like this, but the tigress wouldn't stop. Lin Yi had no choice but to play along. You. Ling Shan was speechless. That's what I asked after the fact. Oh, you asking after the fact means that you wanted me to kill him. Lin Yi said. Why else would you be giving me that look? Are your eyes broken? Facial paralysis? You. Ling Shan glared at Lin Yi like a tigress. She wanted to eat Lin Yi alive, but she was always losing in front of him. Ling Shan was starting to wonder if he was her nemesis. Lu Wangli looked at the furious Ling Shan from afar, and then at Guan Xian, who was close to Lin Yi. He was a bit troubled. Could it be that the love triangle wasn't enough, and now there was a four-way love triangle? Alright, enough with the you owe me another favor. I'll be looking for your car this afternoon. Wait for me. Lin Yi said before turning to Guan Xian, ignoring Ling Shan. Go put some ointment on your neck, there's still blood. Yeah. Guan Xian was a nurse, and naturally, she knew the severity of her injury. It was just a small cut, nothing serious. Guan Xian was taken away by the police after applying the ointment. Ling Shan, on the other hand, couldn't make up her mind to go get Lin Yi again. Wasn't he looking for her car in the afternoon? She'll just do it then. On the way back to Fun's room, Lin Yi reached out to grab Tang Yun's hand, but Tang Yun shook it off shyly. When? Lin Yi asked with a grin. What? Tang Yun paused. Give me a kiss. Lin Yi said. Next time. Tang Yun rolled her eyes at Lin Yi. She'd lost all her courage after what happened to Guan Xian. How could she have the courage to kiss Lin Yi? Then I'll kiss you. Lin Yi, naturally, knew why Tang Yun was unhappy. Go to hell. Tang Yun, naturally, wouldn't agree. Ha. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush. He walked into the room with Tang Yun and looked at the time. It was almost time for afternoon classes. Kong Xiaobo was saying goodbye to Fun. Fun hadn't made a final decision about accompanying Kong Xiaobo to his family's banquet. She needed to think about it. Kong Xiaobo didn't rush her. He only asked her to give him an answer after thinking about it. The four of them left the hospital and stopped a taxi. Lin Yi got off near the villa area. He already told Kong Xiaobo and Tang Yun that he was going to register his car in the afternoon. Lin Yi skipping classes had become a habit anyways. They didn't mind it anymore. Tang Yun couldn't do anything about it. Young Master Lin was a student like that. It was impossible for him to stay in school and study peacefully. Lin Yi drove the van without a license plate all the way to Songshan's criminal investigation unit. Coincidentally, he didn't bump into any traffic police. Otherwise, he'd have to call Ling Shan again. Ling Shan sat in her office, feeling vexed. Wuxia had been saved, but he wasn't out of danger yet. He was on a ventilator, and she didn't know when he'd wake up. It wasn't easy to find a clue for the psycho murderer case, and now it was gone. Ling Shan was feeling a lot of pressure. Was she really qualified for her current job? Ling Shan didn't say anything sarcastic when Lin Yi came. She didn't dare offend Lin Yi. She used to rely on Huaijuan to solve cases, but now, she relied on Lin Yi. Ling Shan felt that she was such a piece of trash. She couldn't solve cases without relying on others. It was a contradictory feeling. Ling Shan thought that way, but she couldn't do anything about it. She copied down the van's frame number and engine number, and called the car management office to get the information on the van. The owner of the van was actually the owner of a car dealership in the second-hand car market. Chapter 296. A date at night. The owner of the car dealership waited for a couple of days, but Heibao didn't show up. He called the phone Heibao left behind, but it was turned off as well. Ling Shan didn't bother explaining after hearing the owner's words. She told him to come to the police station and accompany Lin Yi to the car dealership. As long as the car wasn't stolen, Ling Shan didn't care where Lin Yi got it from. "Alright, you're done here. Can you fill in your statement?" Ling Shan said as she took out her notebook for Lin Yi. "Forget it, make one up yourself. The credit's all yours anyway, I don't want any of it." Lin Yi said. "No." Ling Shan refused flatly. Lin Yi had killed Guanya in front of so many people, how could she give the credit back to him? What would people say then? "Let me make a call." Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with her. He dialed Huaijuan's number and handed the phone to Ling Shan after a few words. "Listen." Ling Shan took the phone from Lin Yi and listened to Huaijuan's voice. She wasn't too happy with the order, but she still nodded obediently. "Got it, Chief Yang." Ling Shan frowned as she handed the phone back to Lin Yi. Just what was this guy's relationship with Huaijuan? The selfless Huaijuan's image in Ling Shan's heart crumbled the moment he got involved with Lin Yi. "Alright, you can leave now," Ling Shan said decisively. Since Huaijuan said that the credit was hers, then it was hers. The criminal police were all old subordinates of Huaijuan, and no one would object if Huaijuan gave the word. "Ha, don't come looking for me next time if you're going to be like that." Lin Yi was a little pissed as well. He was a special agent, and he didn't even pay for it. What was with this attitude? Ling Shan glared at Lin Yi, not saying anything. "What the hell are you so cocky for? Do you think you're invincible? If there's something you can't solve later, just wait and see how I'll mock and ridicule you. For now, I'll endure it." Lin Yi didn't force Ling Shan to say anything. To him, it didn't matter if she said anything or not. After leaving the police station, Lin Yi saw a fat guy looking left and right at the entrance of the police station. "Mr. Wang?" Lin Yi walked over and asked. "Yes, it's me." Wang Mingri greeted him with a smile. "You are Captain Song's friend, right? Shall we transfer the ownership right now?" "Oh, let's go." "Thank you, President Wang." Lin Yi nodded. Although Wang Mingri saw that Lin Yi wasn't the person who bought the car that day, since Captain Song of the criminal police team called, this person shouldn't be a problem. Captain Song wouldn't scam him for a 10,000 kuai car, so Wang Mingri didn't ask any questions and went to the car management office to help Lin Yi. Before leaving, he gave Lin Yi a business card, telling him to call him if Lin Yi wanted to buy a car in the future. Whether it was a new car or an old one, Wang Mingri knew people who could help. Lin Yi thanked him and put the business card away, getting ready to drive to school. This car was Lin Yi's private property now. He didn't need to ask for Minyao's permission to drive it to and from school every day. Lin Yi's phone rang before he even reached school. He took it out and saw that it was Xuemin's number. Grandpa Guan. Lin Yi quickly picked up. What are you busy with? Xuemin's voice came from the other side of the phone. Nothing, I'm driving to school. What's up, Grandpa Guan? Lin Yi asked. Do you have time tonight? My granddaughter is on leave tomorrow, so I'll get her to cook a few dishes and we'll have a drink. Xuemin hadn't discussed medicine with Lin Yi in a long time, so he couldn't hold it in anymore. He didn't call Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't come looking for him. He had no choice but to thicken his skin and call Lin Yi. Tonight? Sure. Lin Yi had wanted to talk to Xuemin about the idea of setting up a medical company, but he didn't have the time. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't reject Xuemin's offer, since Xuemin was calling him today. It's a deal then. I'll be waiting for you at home on time. Xuemin was very happy to hear that Lin Yi had agreed to come. No problem, I'll be there on time. Lin Yi smiled. After hanging up on Lin Yi, Xuemin called his granddaughter Guan Xian. Guan Xian had just finished her statement and was given a few days off by the director, telling her to go home and get some rest. Guan Xian's words, "Don't worry about me, hurry up and shoot, the patient in the room was stabbed by him, his life will be in danger if we don't save him now," had spread like wildfire in the hospital. Even the media came to interview her. Director Qin was very happy, his face beaming like a blooming flower. Nowadays, many reporters like to report negative things about the hospital, and Director Qin was very angry about it. But after Guan Xian's incident, Director Qin didn't back down. Who would dare say bad things about our hospital now? Our nurses were the best, and when faced with a life-threatening situation, the first thing they thought of was the patient's safety, not themselves. Of course, other than that, no one knew the details of Guanya's death. Only the police were there, and the others could only stand far away. They could hear Guan Xian scream, but they didn't know that it was Lin Yi who killed Guanya. Director Qin wanted to take care of Guan Xian because her father was a shareholder of the hospital, but he couldn't find a good reason to do so. After all, he had to make sure that the person he was promoting was convinced, right? But this time, he was going to make an exception to promote Guan Xian, and no one would say anything against it. She was such an excellent nurse, who else would he promote if not her? While giving Guan Xian a day off, Director Qin had already decided to hold a meeting with the hospital's leaders in the afternoon to discuss Guan Xian's personnel changes. Wasn't the old head nurse in the inpatient department about to retire? Let's promote Guan Xian to vice head nurse first, and then wait for her to take over. As for whether Guan Xian could achieve greater things in the future, that would depend on herself. Guan Xian had just left the hospital and was about to go home when her phone rang. She took it out and saw that it was a call from her family. Guan Xian froze. Did Grandpa find out about her injury? Guan Xian frowned, cursing the hospital's leader for being a big mouth and a flatterer. She was afraid that Grandpa would be worried, so she told Director Qin not to tell her father or Grandpa about it. But why was Grandpa calling so soon? Grandpa. Guan Xian picked up the phone and called Grandpa, a little uncertain. Xian, are you on leave tomorrow? Guan Xuemin asked with a smile. Chapter 297. Guan Xian's thoughts: ask old Qin for a day off later and go home early. Guan Xuemin said with a smile. Go home early? What's up? Guan Xian paused. It looked like her grandfather really didn't know what had happened to her, nor did he know that she'd been asked to go home. A friend's coming over tonight, the handsome young man I told you about. He's so young, but his medical skills are amazing. Guan Shuamin smiled. I'd like to introduce you two to each other. He's about the same age as you, so you two should have something in common. Oh. Guan Xian lost interest as soon as she heard that. Lin Yi's figure floated into her mind once more. Guan Shuamin didn't see Guan Xian's expression, so he thought she was shy when he heard her reply. Then it's settled. When you get back, I'll have Auntie Lu buy some groceries with you. Make a few of your specialties tonight and leave a good impression. Auntie Lu was Guan Shuamin's nanny, responsible for taking care of her grandfather's daily needs and buying groceries. Guan Xian was a bit reluctant, but it wasn't right for her to not give face to someone her grandfather respected. Getting to know him was fine, but getting to know him was out of the question. Lin Yi parked the car at the food street behind the school. A man with a fierce face walked up to Lin Yi as soon as he got out. Hey, kid! Don't park here. School's almost over, and there's a stall here. The fierce-looking man was a stinky tofu vendor on the food street, and Lin Yi had parked at his brother's stall. His brother hadn't come yet, so he couldn't let anyone else take his spot. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't think there'd be so many problems with parking. This food street belonged to his family. Even the traffic police hadn't said anything about parking here, and here someone was looking for trouble. The fierce-looking man jumped when he saw Lin Yi raise his head. Fuck, he'd gotten himself into trouble. Master Lin, it's fine, just park here. It's fine, it's fine. The ferocious-looking man had clearly seen how Lin Yi had dealt with Zhang Biaoqiao that night. How could he dare to provoke such a person? Lin Yi shook his head, feeling a little amused. Just a moment ago, he was so fierce, but in the blink of an eye, his face changed. Then I'll stop here. It will stop here every day. No problem. Young Master Lin, I asked my brother to change seats. How could I affect your parking? Don't worry, I'll help you look after your car. I guarantee that no one will dare to scratch your car. The fierce man patted his chest and guaranteed. It wasn't a big deal for his younger brother to change the location of his stall, but if he angered Lin Yi, it would be a big problem. When he returned to class, he was just in time for the last self-study period. Seeing that Lin Yi was back, Kong Xiaobo immediately went over. Boss, you're back. I want to talk to you about something. Talk about something? What's the matter? Say it. Lin Yi looked at Kong Xiaobo and didn't know what he wanted. Can you lend me 200 yuan? Kong Xiaobo said with some embarrassment. 200 yuan. What do you want? No way, you don't even have 200 yuan. Lin Yi was a little surprised. Heh. I spent a bit too much this month. I always went to see Xiaofan and bought a lot of snacks. Kong Xiaobo was a little embarrassed. It's the end of the month. I don't have any money. I'll pay you back next month when I get my allowance. Oh, it's fine. You can use it. Lin Yi gave Kong Xiaobo 200 yuan. Lin Yi still had this bit of money. I'm thinking of buying a cheaper phone for Xiaofan. 200 yuan is enough, Kong Xiaobo said. Otherwise, it's not convenient to contact her. Heh. Lin Yi smiled. You keep the 200 yuan to spend. I'll pay for the phone. You're giving her a gift. No matter what, you have to buy a decent one. You can't just buy a 200 yuan phone, right? Heh, thank you, boss. I won't be polite. When I'm rich in the future, I'll repay you. Kong Xiaobo didn't refuse and directly took it. I also want to buy a phone, and also one for Tang Yun. Lin Yi said. Tomorrow afternoon, let's go to the phone shop together. Okay. Oh right, boss, can you lend me your phone again? Kong Xiaobo whispered. What do you want to see? Yushu or Mengyao? Lin Yi gave this guy a knock on the head. You already have Xiaofan. Don't think too much. Ah. You can even see through this. Kong Xiaobo was a little embarrassed. It's just for the eyes. I'm not fated with the 3 school beauties. Tang Yun is my sister-in-law now. I don't dare to look around. I can only admire these 2 beauties without an owner. Study hard. Lin Yi smiled helplessly. I won't let you look. Okay, I won't look. Kong Xiaobo was a little depressed. Tell me the truth, boss. Who does this phone belong to? Why does it look like a girl's phone? Can you tell me? Also, the beetle last time, you said it wasn't yours. I think it's a girl's too. Since you want to know so much, I'll tell you, Lin Yi looked at Kong Xiaobo and said. The car and phone are actually Yushu's. We're living together. Ah. Xiaobo paused. TSK, Xiaobo said. Fine, I won't ask you anymore, alright? Lin Yi shrugged. Most of the time, no one believed the truth. But it was a good way to solve the problem once and for all. Kong Xiaobo wouldn't ask about this anymore. Even if he knew the truth, Lin Yi didn't lie to him. He was living with Yushu, and Meng Yao as well. But, to be more precise, they were living together. Lin Yi sent Meng Yao a text after school, telling her that he had something to do and would be back later. Meng Yao was already used to this type of text. She hired this guy, so why did he have so many things to do? Guan Xian was a little helpless at her grandpa's praises. If that guy was so good, why didn't he take him in as a godson or something? Why did he want her to hang out with him? Guan Xian already had someone in her heart. How could she accept someone else at a time like this? But Guan Xian couldn't tell her grandpa about this. She could only agree to it and walked to the kitchen unhappily. He wants me to cook with my heart. Why? If I cook well, what if he takes a fancy to me? What should I do? Wouldn't I be looking for trouble? Guan Xian thought that she might as well make it a little worse so that he wouldn't want to eat it again. Chapter 298. Chapter 298, Guan Xueming's Selfish Motives. Guan Xian was born into a family of scholars and doctors. House Guan was now on the same level as some of the bigger houses, but Guan Xian didn't have any of the bad habits of a rich young miss. Her parents were busy with work, and her father was a shareholder of the hospital, but his company was out of town. It was rare for him and his mother to come home. Guan Xian had been by her grandfather's side since she was young, so she learned how to clean the house, wash clothes, and cook. She managed the house neatly, and although Nanny Lu was there, Guan Xian would always help Nanny Lu every time she came home. Her cooking skills were superb, and she was known as the super invincible beauty god of cooking in the family area of the medical school. Whenever Guan Xian cooked, her grandfather's old friends would shamelessly come over to eat with her. Guan Xian's cultured and refined demeanor made her the object of admiration for all the boys her age in the medical school's family area. However, the Guan family's strict upbringing forbade dating before graduation, so many admirers were deterred from pursuing her. Guan Xueming, on the other hand, entered society and started working after graduation. It was just that Guan Xueming's reputation was getting bigger and bigger, and those old friends who came to visit him stopped bringing it up. Guan Xueming's reputation was now on the same level as the bigger houses, and no one knew if Guan Xian would marry into a rich family, but Guan Xian was a good wife and loving mother. She was definitely the first choice for a rich family's daughter-in-law. Guan Xian breathed a sigh of relief. She'd just graduated, and her career hadn't even started yet. How could she be in the mood for a relationship? But even if she wasn't in the mood, there were times when love couldn't be stopped. When Guan Xian had first developed feelings for Lin Yi, she'd found it strange and inconceivable. It was the first time she'd developed feelings for a boy, and the old Guan Xian had even thought that there was something wrong with her sexual orientation. Perhaps she was just a little late in her development. Guan Xian comforted herself, but she felt that there was no longer any possibility between her and Lin Yi. She'd fantasized about it, but reality was reality. Guan Xian had chosen to run away from him the first time she saw him. But after running away, she couldn't help but want to see Lin Yi again. It was a conflicted feeling. She knew that it was impossible, but she still wanted to see him. It was like a moth flying into a flame. It was somewhat impulsive and irrational, but it was uncontrollable. Xin, do you need Auntie Lu's help? Auntie Lu's voice came from outside the kitchen. After tidying up the house, Auntie Lu came to help Guan Xian in the kitchen. No need, I can do it myself. Guan Xian rejected Auntie Lu's offer of help, but she couldn't let Auntie Lu come. If Auntie Lu saw her cooking secret, she'd definitely stop her from messing around. Auntie Lu didn't think much about it. She knew that Master Guan was going to introduce a handsome young man to Guan Xian. Auntie Lu thought that Guan Xian was tempted and wanted to show off her invincible cooking skills. If someone were to help, how would they show off the super invincible young god of cooking in the universe? One had to admit that Guan Xian's cooking skills were excellent. Even though the seasoning was messed up, the dishes were still delicious and tasteless. If one didn't taste it and just looked at the appearance, it would definitely make one salivate. Whether it was the color or the fragrance, they were all excellent. But after one taste, one would find that every dish was either salty, sour, or sweet. In short, none of the dishes had a normal taste. Before Guan Xian took the dishes out of the wok, she would add a random seasoning to the dishes. Guan Xuemin looked at Guan Xian, who was busy cooking, and he was happy. Such a virtuous, beautiful, gentle, and well-mannered granddaughter should be able to make Lin Yi enjoy it so much that he forgot to go home, right? If Guan Xian came to his house a few more times, all the medical problems he had would be solved by her. If Guan Xuemin could become his grandson-in-law, the Guan clan would be prosperous for the next 100 years. Although the Guan clan's status was comparable to the big houses, and even the heads of the big houses were respectful to them, Guan Xuemin knew very well that it was all because of him. He was Miracle Dr. Guan, and that was why the Guan clan's status was so high. Everyone would die one day, and knowing a miracle doctor was the same as having a guarantee of life. This was also why the Guan clan's status had risen so quickly these past few years. But if Guan Xuemin was gone one day, the Guan clan's status would plummet. Without a miracle doctor, the Guan clan would be no different from a normal small family. Although Guan Xuemin wasn't someone who cared about fame and fortune, he couldn't not think about his children and grandchildren. Especially his granddaughter, Guan Xuemin was even more worried about her. Finding a good husband for her had become his main concern. Looking at Lin Yi reminded him of Guan Xian. If his granddaughter could be with Lin Yi, then the Guan clan's reputation wouldn't fall because of his passing, but would instead rise. Guan Xuemin knew very well what kind of miracle doctor was he. Lin Yi was the miracle doctor. And that miracle doctor he met 20 years ago. That was the real deal. His eldest son's family had settled in Yanjing, living a wealthy life. His youngest son and his wife were busy with business, and only their daughter Guan Xian was by their side. Guan Xuemin didn't have much to worry about with his two sons. His eldest son didn't have any skills, but he'd made quite a bit of money through Guan Xuemin's connections, enough for them to live the rest of their lives. Guan Xuemin didn't have a good impression of his eldest son, and he didn't want to return to a small place like Songshan ever since he'd been exposed to the upper class. He only came back once during the holidays, which disappointed Guan Xuemin quite a bit. His youngest son, on the other hand, came back often, and was a righteous person, albeit a bit old-fashioned. He relied on his own ability to do business and never mentioned Guan Xuemin's name outside. Logically speaking, with his youngest son's personality, if he didn't have any background or backing, he would definitely be disadvantaged in society. However, his luck wasn't bad. In his early years, he met a benefactor, a legendary figure. Unfortunately, this person also disappeared from everyone's sight in the same year as the genius doctor who had taught Guan Xuemin, becoming a legend. Xin, there's no need to make so many dishes. It's enough to eat. Guan Xuemin was a bit puzzled as he watched his granddaughter run around, preparing a table full of delicacies. Had his granddaughter really grown up? Was she starting to care about her marriage? Was she going to show off in front of this young man? Chapter 299. How about instant noodles? His youngest son had received guidance from a great benefactor, and his business had grown considerably, but Guan Xuemin's only regret was that there was no one in the family who studied medicine. His granddaughter's weak personality meant that she could only be a nurse, and she wasn't cut out to study medicine either. That was why Guan Xuemin had always wanted to find someone to pass on his legacy to, or he wouldn't have been so surprised to see Lin Yi at the bookstore and wanted to take Lin Yi as his last disciple. But that thought was gone now. His medical skills weren't even a third of Lin Yi's, so what was the point of passing on his legacy? It wasn't even certain who would be whose teacher. But no matter what, Guan Xuemin had something to look forward to. Ding! The doorbell rang. Lin Yi parked the car in front of Guan Xuemin's villa and pressed the doorbell. Guan Xuemin was overjoyed at the ring. He quickly stood up and waved at Auntie Lu, who was about to open the door. He'd open the door himself. Guan Xuemin didn't dare put on any airs and it came to Lin Yi. There was no such thing as learning, and Lin Yi was better than him. Lin Yi, you're here. Guan Xuemin said happily when he opened the door and saw Lin Yi. Ah, nice to meet you, Grandpa Guan. I came right after school and didn't bring any gifts, so please don't mind me. Lin Yi smiled as he spread his empty hands. Other people brought gifts when they came to Guan Xuemin's house, but Lin Yi came empty-handed. What gifts? Guan Xuemin was amused by Lin Yi's words. I'm happy that you're here. It wasn't easy for me to be so thick-skinned as to call you and invite you over for a drink or two. If you keep being so polite, I won't call you again no matter how thick-skinned I am. Ah, alright, then I'll come over when I'm free. Lin Yi said with a smile. That's more like it. Guan Xuemin nodded matter-of-factly. Guan Xian was walking out of the kitchen with a plate of sweet and sour mustard fish in her hands when she heard someone boasting that he could come over for free food. She wasn't happy at all. Who are you? You're here to freeload. Did he really not treat himself as an outsider? Alright, since you came to eat, I'll let you eat your fill. Let's see if you dare to come again next time. Tonight's sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, and numbing feast will definitely be fresh in your memory. However, the voice sounded familiar. Had it been to his house before? Guan Xian frowned, but didn't pay much attention to it. She was just about to put the fish on the table when she looked up and froze, almost dropping the fish on the floor. Lin Yi? Guan Xian's eyes widened in disbelief. Why was he the one who wanted to freeload all the time in the future? Guan Xian? Lin Yi was startled. What was Guan Xian doing here? He suddenly remembered what Guan Xuemin had said about his granddaughter. Could Guan Xian be his granddaughter? Both of them had the same surname. You're Grandpa Guan's granddaughter. You're the handsome young man Grandpa was talking about. Guan Xian blushed. Why was he the handsome young man Grandpa was talking about? Didn't he already have a girlfriend? Why was Grandpa introducing him to her? Guan Xian didn't know what to do. She wanted to hide her feelings for Lin Yi from the bottom of her heart, but she lowered her head shyly. Handsome young man. Lin Yi paused at the title, and smiled bitterly. I'm not considered a young genius, but I'm young and promising. I can barely call myself that. Bragging. Guan Xian couldn't help but smile. What kind of person was this immodest? Wasn't handsome, young and promising about the same? Grandma Wang was praising herself for selling her melons. You know Xian. Guan Xuemin was afraid that his granddaughter would be conflicted, but he understood after seeing her expression. It seemed like the two knew each other a long time ago, so he was worrying needlessly. Yes, we just met today. Lin Yi nodded. Oh. Just met today. Looks like we're very close. Guan Xuemin listened to Lin Yi's words. That saves me the trouble of introducing myself. Since you know Xian, it's even easier. Let's skip the introductions and eat. I've been starving for a long time. I eat early every day, and I waited until now just to wait for you. Ah. All right. I won't hold back then. Lin Yi smiled as he turned to Guan Xian. What a coincidence, I was supposed to try out your cooking today. Ah. Guan Xian jumped and ran towards the kitchen with the mustard fish in her hands. She never would have thought that the handsome young man Grandpa was talking about was Lin Yi. She wouldn't have made these weird dishes if she'd known earlier. She would have prepared with all her heart and skills if she'd known earlier. Guan Xian regretted it a little. If Lin Yi ate the feast she prepared, he'd probably never come again. What should she do? Guan Xian wanted to throw away all the dishes on the table and make a new one. Xian, where are you going? Why are you taking the fish away? Grandpa loves sweet and sour fish the most. Bring it back, Grandpa can't wait. Guan Xuemin waved his hand at Guan Xian. I'm going back to the pot. The dishes are cold, I'm going back to the pot. Guan Xian said as she tried to grab the other dishes from the table. She could just throw them away and make a new one. There were still some ingredients left, so she could make as much as she could. Back to the pot. Back to what pot? It's not cold, it's steaming. Stop messing around and put it down. Guan Xuemin was confused by Guan Xian's actions. What was she doing? Oh. Guan Xian didn't have a choice. She reluctantly put down the dishes and the sweet and sour fish. Alright, Xian, you sit down too. Let's eat together. Guan Xuemin couldn't wait to open a bottle of Mao Tai and pour a cup for Lin Yi before pouring one for himself. Alright. Guan Xian was reluctant. But there was nothing she could do. She sat down with a sad face. I've heard from Grandpa Guan that you're a great cook. The dishes on the table are delicious. Let me try them. Lin Yi smiled as he picked up his chopsticks. Grandpa, I have an idea. Why don't we eat instant noodles? Drinking wine and eating instant noodles is delicious, right? What do you think? Guan Xian suddenly stood up. I haven't had instant noodles in a long time. Why don't we throw away all the dishes? Chapter 300. Absolutely disgusting. What the hell are you doing, Xian? There's so much good food here, why are you eating instant noodles? Xuemin was getting a little pissed off. Lin Yi was a guest he'd invited. Even if the two of them knew each other, or had some sort of conflict, there was no need to be like this. And no. Guan Xian stuck her tongue out, a little embarrassed. Do you want instant noodles, Lin Yi? Me? I'm fine. Lin Yi was a little puzzled, why was Guan Xian so insistent on him eating instant noodles? He didn't want to turn her down either, so he answered without thinking. That's great. I like it too. I'll go make 2 buckets. Guan Xian was a little happy at Lin Yi's answer. I'll go right now. Guan Xian, sit there. Xuemin was so angry that he didn't even bother calling her Xian anymore, choosing to just call her by her full name. Oh. Guan Xian felt wronged, but couldn't tell him the real reason. She could only sit down gloomily. If she'd known this would happen, she wouldn't have made the food so disgusting. Even if she'd just cooked it casually, it would still have been delicious. Ah. I haven't had instant noodles in a long time, I kind of miss the taste. Lin Yi smiled, Grandpa Guan, don't be mad, Guan Xian's just too passionate. Guan Xian looked at Lin Yi gratefully. She was about to poison him to death, but he was still helping her out. What a nice guy. Yeah, he wouldn't have taken a bullet for her if he wasn't a nice guy, and he wouldn't have risked his life to save her today. Girls in their prime always liked to fantasize about having a Prince Charming by their side. It was the dream of every girl her age, and it was obvious that Lin Yi wasn't as good as she thought he was, but Guan Xian had taken it upon herself to make Lin Yi her Prince Charming. In fact, it was very simple for Lin Yi to block the bullet. No matter who was behind him, he just didn't want to hurt the innocent. Even if it wasn't Guan Xian who was kidnapped, Lin Yi would have done it if it was anyone else he was familiar with. If Guan Xian knew that Lin Yi acted so quickly in exchange for a kiss from Tang Yun, what would she think? Looking at his granddaughter's grateful expression towards Lin Yi, Xuemin was even more surprised this time. These two didn't seem to have a conflict, did they? What kind of relationship was that? Why is Xinxin acting so weird today? Lin Yi actually cooperated? Alright, let's not talk so much. Since you're familiar with it, let's eat it. I'll go first. Guan Xuemin picked up a piece of sweet and sour fish with his chopsticks. Guan Xian wanted to stop him, but it was too late. She could only grimace and wait for her grandpa's scolding. This fish is very tender, not bad. Pfft. Guan Xuemin's eyes widened as he spat out the fish in his mouth. He gasped, what's in it? Aya, my old life. Xuemin thought that the fish was soft and tasty when it first entered his mouth, but the next moment, a wave of spiciness rushed to his nostrils and almost made him cry, Grandpa. I'm sorry. Guan Xian hurriedly passed a bottle of water to Xuemin. I accidentally knocked over the mustard. Xuemin took a sip of water to catch his breath. Then why did you bring it here? Didn't you kill Grandpa? I said I was going to cook it again. Grandpa, you didn't let me. Guan Xian said carefully. Alright. Forget it, we'll pass on the sweet and sour fish. Have Auntie Lu take it away, we'll eat something else. Xuemin waved his hand helplessly. I'm sorry, I made a fool of myself in front of you. Come, let's eat something else. Xian isn't usually like this, she might have been a bit careless when she heard that a handsome young man like you was coming. She's pretty good at cooking, why don't you try some? Lin Yi looked oddly at the sweet and sour fish Auntie Lu was taking away. Knocked over the mustard. Lin Yi picked up his chopsticks and picked up a piece of stir-fried pork with bamboo shoots. He was just about to eat when Guan Xian said, wait, ? Lin Yi turned to Guan Xian. Ugh. Let's just eat instant noodles. Guan Xian said weakly. Ah. Lin Yi had a rough idea of what was going on by now. He stuffed the bamboo shoot into his mouth. It was very salty. Lin Yi picked up a few dishes closer to him and tasted them. They were either too sweet or too spicy. None of them were tasty. What do you think? Not bad, right? Guan Xuemin, on the other hand, was waiting for Lin Yi's praise. As long as he had Lin Yi's appetite, he wouldn't have to worry about Lin Yi stopping by to discuss medical matters with him. It's not bad. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Xuemin paused. Wasn't Lin Yi's expectations a bit too high? And this was just not bad. Which of his old friends didn't praise his granddaughter Xin's cooking? Even their children and grandchildren were shameless enough to come here for free meals. His granddaughter was hailed as the invincible beauty goddess of cooking in the family quarters. But since it was Lin Yi who said it, Xuemin couldn't argue with him. After all, Lin Yi was his teacher now. Yi, your taste is pretty high. This old man thinks it's not bad already. Xuemin said as he picked up another dish. High taste. That's high. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He'd already made up his mind by saying that it was okay, but he'd said something against his will. Pfft. Xuemin spat out a mouthful of stir-fried pork with bamboo shoots. He quickly drank a mouthful of water and said, Xin, did you kill the salt cellar? Guan Xin lowered her head in embarrassment, not daring to look at her grandpa and Lin Yi. Today was too embarrassing. Xuemin quickly tried a few other dishes with his chopsticks and spat them out again. He finally understood that Lin Yi's not bad was already praising today's food. Today's food couldn't even be described as bad, it was unbelievably bad. Xin, this food. Xuemin's eyes widened, you don't usually cook like this, ah. Grandpa Guan, maybe Xin was frightened today. Lin Yi wanted to say a few words to comfort Guan Xin, but she cut him off. Guan Xin didn't want her grandpa to know what happened at the hospital today. It'd make him worry, so she cut Lin Yi off and said her real purpose, Grandpa, I'm sorry. I actually did it on purpose, on purpose. You made it this bad on purpose? What's going on? Xuemin blinked, not expecting Guan Xin to say that. Chapter 301. Xin's bias, I think he wouldn't want to come back after tasting my cooking, he's afraid of being poisoned. Guan Xin explained sheepishly. Ah. Lin Yi had more or less guessed Guan Xin's intentions. Guan Xuemin had praised his granddaughter to Lin Yi more than once, saying that she was a good cook and a well-mannered person. Lin Yi naturally understood the old man's intentions. Guan Xuemin, on the other hand, must have told Guan Xin something similar back at home as well. It was only natural that Guan Xin was conflicted. Any girl wouldn't be too happy if they were told that a handsome young man was coming to their house, asking them to get to know him better. You dash. Guan Xuemin was pissed off, this was the first time he'd lost face. Lin Yi is my guest, how could you do this? It's fine if you guys know each other, but if it were someone you don't know, they'd be slamming the door and walking out already. How is this treating someone to a meal? You're trying to poison him to death. I'm sorry, Grandpa. Guan Xin lowered her head, realizing that she'd gone too far. She hadn't thought too much about it before, she'd only wanted the young man to leave as soon as possible. Now that she thought about it, where would her grandpa's face go? It's fine, Grandpa Guan. Don't blame Guan Xin. Lin Yi smiled. Actually, to tell you the truth, you kept telling me how good your granddaughter was, and I didn't even dare to visit you. It's normal for Guan Xin to feel the same way. Is that so? So I'm the one worrying too much then? Guan Xuemin thought about it for a moment. It seemed like he'd been a little too hasty, so he shook his head. Alright, let Auntie Lu make a few dishes. I'll go. Guan Xin stood up, a little embarrassed. It was a bit of a shame that all the dishes on the table were picked up, but it wasn't something a normal person could eat. Lin Yi changed the topic to medicine, and Guan Xuemin quickly forgot about the previous unpleasantness. He excitedly discussed the prescription with Lin Yi. Guan Shuamin had completely forgotten what had happened when Guan Xian brought a few steaming hot dishes to the table. Xian, come pour Grandpa some wine. Guan Xian looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. Was this man really that mysterious? Not only was he skilled, but he also knew medicine. It wasn't easy for a person to receive such high praise from his grandfather. Guan Xian's subsequent dishes were quite ordinary. A plate of scrambled eggs with green onions, a plate of mushrooms, a plate of tofu, a plate of cucumber, and a bowl of sour and spicy egg soup were all served piping hot. For ordinary home-cooked dishes and an ordinary soup were cooked to perfection in Guan Xian's hands. Try it again this time. Guan Xian said to Lin Yi, a little embarrassed as she poured wine for her grandfather. Lin Yi nodded and picked up a piece of mushrooms with his chopsticks. He thought to himself. She's actually catching up to my level. How is it? Guan Xian didn't know if Lin Yi's was good or bad. She looked at Lin Yi nervously, waiting for his answer. But for these home-cooked dishes, Guan Xian had given it her all, bringing out the young divine chef's abilities to the extreme. I didn't think home-cooked food could be this good. Lin Yi praised. Old Lin always praised him like this, then, eat more. Guan Xian was a little happy. She pursed her lips into a smile. Try something else, okay? Lin Yi nodded and put a few more mouthfuls from the other dishes into his mouth. Grandpa Guan, I finally know that what you said before was true. Guan Xian really is the young divine chef. That's right. Guan Shuamin nodded. So. If you want to eat more, you'll have to come here often. No problem. Lin Yi nodded happily. Shuamin had a taste of Guan Xian's new dishes, frowning as he took a bite. Xian, aren't you being biased? I've tried these dishes before, why aren't they as good as today's? It looks like Lin Yi's treatment is different now that he's here. The poison dishes from before are upgraded to delicious food that even I've never tasted before. Grandpa. Guan Xian was a little embarrassed by Shuamin's words. Lil Yi, it looks like you'll have to come more often. This old man will have to enjoy the delicious food with you. Guan Shuamin smiled. I'll definitely come more often. Lin Yi nodded. He was here because of Guan Shuamin's invitation, but also because he wanted to discuss the medical company with Guan Shuamin. If that were to happen, he'd have to come here more often. Guan Xian was a little embarrassed as she looked at Lin Yi. She was a little surprised, but also a little lost. It seemed like she had a chance again. If he came here more often, then their relationship would definitely improve. But, was this the right thing to do? After dinner, Guan Xian went to clean up the dishes while Lin Yi and Guan Shuamin went upstairs to Guan Shuamin's study. Lin Yi's expression returned to a serious one as he closed the door. Grandpa Guan, I actually have something important to discuss with you this time. Oh. What is it? Guan Shuamin paused. He didn't think that Lin Yi would have something to discuss with him. He'd originally wanted to discuss the condition of Lu Tiany's father, Lu Zhenhu, with Lin Yi. Guan Shuamin could barely control Lu Zhenhu's angina, but couldn't cure it. So he wanted to discuss it with Lin Yi and see if there was anything he could come up with. But since Lin Yi had something to discuss, he'd talk about Lin Yi first. Grandpa Guan, I'd like to start a medical company and sell some Chinese medicine. Lin Yi got straight to the point. I'd like to borrow your title as Miracle Dr. Guan. Oh. You want to start a medical company? Guan Shuamin paused, but didn't really care about what Lin Yi said. There's a lot of medical companies in the country right now. If I don't have any special medicine, I won't be able to make much of an impact with just my name alone. If Dr. Kong can use Golden Creation to become one of the top medical companies in the country, why can't we? Lin Yi smiled nonchalantly. He has golden creation, so we can make rejuvenation pill and blood clotting powder. There are a lot of similar names in Wuxia novels anyways. Oh. Guan Shuamin paused. You have the recipe for golden creation? Chapter 302. The problem of funding. Guan Shuamin looked at Lin Yi in shock. The formula for golden creation had always been a top secret in the industry. No one knew about it, and while many pharmaceutical companies had paid a high price to hire Eastern physicians to do research on it, no one had been able to find the formula. But Lin Yi had a formula with similar effects. But when he thought about Lin Yi's painkiller formula, Guan Shuamin didn't doubt that Lin Yi was just joking. If he said it existed, then it definitely existed. If he said it worked, then it worked. Guan Shuamin had no doubt about that. If there really is, then with the painkiller prescription in our hands, we'll be able to compete with Miracle Dr. Kong on equal footing with these two products. Guan Shuamin nodded. He wasn't interested in business, but he was very interested in Lin Yi's formula. Grandpa Guan, I'll use my formula to buy shares, and I'll borrow your name to start a pharmaceutical company. Are you interested? Lin Yi spoke his mind. Lin Yi had a general understanding of Guan Shuamin through their few interactions. The man didn't care much for fame and fortune, and had almost no desire for it. Prescriptions, on the other hand, were very important to him. It wasn't that he wanted the formula for himself, but that he wanted to study the properties of the formula. You can use my name for free. Guan Shuamin waved a hand. I don't lack food or clothes, so money is useless to me. But do you know how much money it takes to start a pharmaceutical company? We have to get our hands on the formula, and we can't hire other factories to do it for us. We'll need a production line as well, and we'll need at least 100 million to start the company. 100 million? Lin Yi didn't have any experience in business, so he paused. That's a bit much. Do you have the money, Elder Guan? I'll take a smaller share. 100 million wasn't much to the Lin Yi of the past. Although the old man lied to him and said that a mission was only a few hundred yuan, Lin Yi knew very well that there were many missions worth more than 100 million yuan. However, Lin Yi did not want to haggle with his stingy old man. The old man was the one who had raised him. There was no need for him to haggle with him so clearly. But now, Lin Yi was really short of money. He knew that without money, he couldn't do anything. Hee. My money, other than enough for my daily expenses, has basically been donated to the medical industry. Shuamin smiled. You know that at my level, I don't need to spend much money. The school basically covers all my daily expenses. Lin Yi was in a bit of a dilemma. It seemed that his thinking was a bit too simple. He thought that he could make money with the formula, but he didn't think about the startup capital. If it was an investment, Lin Yi could pull it in. He could talk to Pengzhan about the prospects of this industry. He was sure that the guy would be interested, but his company's internal problems weren't solved yet. Lin Yi didn't want to give the formula to a company he had no confidence in. It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't trust Pengzhan, but the problem was that the company might not even belong to Pengzhan in the future. Even if it did belong to Pengzhan, those bastard shareholders of the company were even capable of assassinating Meng Yao. There was no telling if they'd be jealous of the recipe or not. My eldest son does have the money, but I won't use it. Shuamin continued after seeing that Lin Yi wasn't saying anything. He's a bit greedy. We can't let him participate in this. Oh. Lin Yi paused. He wasn't expecting Shuamin to say that. Normally, people would think of their children first when there was something good, but Shuamin had rejected the possibility of letting his eldest son participate. Haha, he already has enough money to spend. I don't want to hurt him. My youngest son, Xinshin's father, is running a temporary business. He does have some money on hand, but his company isn't very big. I estimate that the total value of the entire business is only 2 to 300 million. He doesn't have that much liquid capital. So, I don't want either of them to participate in this. I'm still healthy, so it's not a big deal. But in the future. Ha. Xuemin didn't continue, but he believed that Lin Yi would understand what he was trying to say. Indeed, Lin Yi understood Xuemin's words. Lin Yi was shocked. He knew that Xuemin was a righteous old man who didn't care about fame and fortune, but he didn't think that the guy would be this insightful. He'd removed his 2 family members from the equation as soon as Lin Yi mentioned the idea of a partnership. Grandpa Guan. It's not a problem to give them some shares. Lin Yi said, a little embarrassed. No need. Xuemin shook his head. Don't talk about them. I don't even want the shares. Ah. Lin Yi was stunned. How can you do that? How can I borrow your reputation? You brat. Let me finish. Xuemin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Lin Yi's words. I haven't finished yet. Okay, Grandpa Guan, go ahead. Lin Yi was familiar with Xuemin now, so he wasn't as restrained as before. In fact, the 2 of them had become good friends since the last time they talked about medical problems. Xin is my favorite granddaughter. If it's possible, you can just give her a small part of the shares. Xuemin said, it doesn't need to be much, just enough for her to live in the future. Of course, that's not a problem. Lin Yi agreed without hesitation. Don't be in a hurry to agree. You still have to think of a way to start your own business. Xuemin said solemnly with a wave of his hand. My name is useful in all the big houses, and I can pull in a lot of investments, but you better not let anyone else have a share in this medicine company. House Kang's Golden Creations profits are enough to make people jealous, but there's nothing we can do about it. They're managing it like a family, and no outsiders are involved. Xuemin continued. As long as Elder Kong is still alive, there won't be any problems. But if someone else were to get involved in your company, I can't guarantee that my name will still be effective in the face of profit. I understand, Grandpa Guan. I'll think of a way to get the funds myself. Lin Yi nodded. Xuemin didn't say anything else. 100 million seemed like a fantasy to an ordinary person, but he knew that Lin Yi wasn't an ordinary person. How could Huaijuan's teammate, someone with such miraculous medical skills, be an ordinary person? Chapter 303. The Young Miracle Doctor, It's Useless. Lin Yi waved his hand, not looking at the patient. Since it's your patient, Grandpa Guan, I'll take a look with you. All right. I'll call him and ask him to come over. Guan Xuemin nodded. Lin Yi was right, seeing the patient wasn't as direct as looking at the patient. Having Lin Yi with Elder Lu was much better than doing research on his own. Oh. The patient's nearby? Lin Yi asked, surprised. Yeah, he lives in this district. It's only a few minutes' drive, it'll be quick. With that, Guan Xuemin picked up the phone on his desk and dialed a number. In the family compound of Songshan Medical University was a luxurious villa that was comparable to Guan Xuemin's mansion. A young man in his 20s was talking angrily to a middle-aged woman. Auntie, isn't Sun Jingyi looking down on House Wu a little too much by doing this? We're a Wulin house, after all, and we're one of the 4 great guardian houses. What's House Sun? They're just a new house, and I'm already giving them a lot of face by asking for their hand in marriage. But that old man's son doesn't know what's good for him, saying that he doesn't want to get involved in young people's affairs, telling me to work hard on my own. The speaker was Wu Qintian, the most promising young man in House Wu's younger generation. He was known as Little Wu Iron Fist. House Sun's business has been expanding really fast these past few years, and they have some connections in the political world. They're a new house, yes, but they have the right to stand shoulder to shoulder with the other old houses. Lu Tianyi said, glaring at his nephew. But Sun Jingyi and I are childhood friends, and she's gone too far. She found a boyfriend in private, and made me look like a fool. Chen Tian said resentfully. I wouldn't have lost my wallet if it wasn't for her. People look down on me. All right. Tian, I'll help you. Wu Huiru opened her mouth. Since your uncle's father will be staying here to recuperate for a while, I'll help you set up a company. Let's show that girl from the Sun family the talents of the Wu family's men. Thank you, Auntie. Chen Tian was overjoyed. He didn't know what to do in this unfamiliar city, but with his aunt's help, he'd be able to make a name for himself and show Sun Jingyi how good he was. Ring. The phone in the living room rang. It's so late, who's calling? Tianyi, Huiru. What if it disturbs Dad's rest? Wu Huiru complained when she heard the phone ringing. What? What if something happens? Tianyi glared at Huiru. Huiru. This landline phone was in the previous villa. He must have called the previous owner by mistake. Wu Huiru curled her lips. Who doesn't call this phone when they know us? That's right, Uncle. Auntie is right. Don't worry about him. Chen Tian was in the middle of a happy conversation with his aunt, preparing to think about how to capture Sun Jingyi's heart after setting up the company, when the phone interrupted them. Lu Tianyi frowned, ignoring his wife and nephew. Hello, I'm Lu Tianyi. Tianyi. I'm Guan Xuemin. Bring your father over. I've invited a specialist, and we're going to see if there's any possibility of a cure. Xuemin's voice came from the other side of the phone. All right. Elder Guan, I'll bring my father over right now. Thank you. Lu Tianyi nodded profusely at the words. Lu Tianyi was very grateful that Xuemin was putting so much effort into his father's situation. After all, House Lu was one of the most powerful houses in the city, but that was only because old Lu Zhenhu was still alive. Many people gave them face, but once old Lu passed away, House Lu would definitely fall. Tianyi glared at his wife after hanging up. You almost ruined our big plan, you know. Elder Guan's invited a specialist, and he's going to treat Dad. Would you be able to take responsibility if you didn't get the call? I'll go help Dad down right now. Huiru didn't dare say anything else. She lowered her head and went upstairs. Lu Tianyi had become more and more manly these days, and Huiru didn't dare make a fuss anymore. Instead, she became more obedient. Humph. Be careful. Lu Tianyi warned. Chen Tian, go with me to help your grandpa Lu down. Huiru gave Chen Tian a look. Old Lu was a big shot, and if he fell in love with Chen Tian and spoke up for Chen Tian at House Sun, old Sun wouldn't just give him face. Chen Tian understood and followed his aunt upstairs. 10 minutes later, old Lu Zhenhu came down with the help of Huiru and Chen Tian. Lu Tianyi had already parked the car in front of the villa, waiting for them to get in before driving straight to Xuemin's villa. Zhenhu was no longer sleepy after hearing that a specialist was coming to treat him. His heart was filled with hope. Even an old man in his 70s would want to live a few more years. It wasn't that Zhenhu was afraid of death, but that he couldn't let go of the Lius. Auntie Lu opened the door for them and invited the Lius into the villa. Xuemin and Lin Yi were waiting on the sofa in the living room, but Lin Yi paused when he saw Zhenhu and Lu Tianyi. He didn't expect the patient Xuemin was talking about to be Zhenhu. Lu Tianyi's family also saw Lin Yi on the sofa. They paused as well, but Zhenhu and Lu Tianyi's faces lit up with excitement. Xuemin had found this miracle doctor. Did that mean that his father's illness could be cured? But Qintian's face was very ugly. He didn't expect to see Lin Yi here, nor did he expect Lin Yi to be sitting with Miracle Dr. Guan, who was treating Grandpa Lu. He wanted to say something, but held it in. This wasn't House Wu or House Lu, after all, and it wasn't his place to speak. He could only look at Lin Yi with hatred. Miracle Doctor. I didn't expect to see you here, it's great. Lu Qianni was a little excited as he walked up to shake Lin Yi's hand. Lu Qianni regretted it when he heard Xuemin praise Lin Yi so much. He was in too much of a rush that day, and he didn't leave his contact number with Lu Qianni. Chapter 304. This kid is a little annoying. Lu Qianni felt a little awkward. Who was he? Many people tried to get on his good side, and he'd taken the initiative to shake hands with Lin Yi. Now that he was being ignored, he felt a little embarrassed. But, if Lin Yi really was as miraculous as Guan Xuemin said, then it was normal for a miracle doctor to put on airs. He was someone many people wanted to get on his good side, after all. It was normal that he didn't like him. Uncle. Don't get tricked by him. I know this kid, he's not a miracle doctor. Chen Tian was getting angry at his uncle's respect for Lin Yi. He's Sun Jingyi's boyfriend. A liar. Chen Tian found it hard to connect the title of miracle doctor with Lin Yi. The kid didn't look like a miracle doctor at all, and he'd asked Sun Jingyi about what Lin Yi did for a living. Sun Jingyi tried her best to cover it up, but Chen Tian still got the gist of it. The kid didn't have a proper job, and was unemployed. Otherwise, with Sun Jingyi's personality, there was no way she wouldn't brag about her boyfriend's good points. If Lin Yi really was a miracle doctor, Sun Jingyi would have used this to attack him already. Why would she hide it? This was why Chen Tian dared to make things difficult for Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was no miracle doctor. These people must have been tricked by Lin Yi. Lu Qianni, Huiru, and Guan Xuemin all looked at Lin Yi, surprised. Fine, I'm a liar. What no one expected was for Lin Yi to admit it. Since there are people who don't want to see me, then I'll take my leave. Grandpa Guan, I'll come visit again. With that, Lin Yi stood up and prepared to leave. What a joke, Lin Yi didn't owe the Lius anything. He only treated Elder Lu because of Guan Xuemin, and since they called him a liar, Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to explain himself. I'm too lazy to treat you if you call me a liar. Go look wherever you want, we'll meet again. Haze. Guan Xuemin sighed. He wasn't angry at Lin Yi's actions, but he didn't like Qintian's behavior. He didn't know what relationship this kid had with Lu Qianni. Why did he bring him here to embarrass himself? Great, now that you've pissed him off, he won't treat your old man anymore. What are you going to do now? In terms of age, Chen Tian was a few years older than Lin Yi, but in Xuemin's eyes, Chen Tian was just a kid. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was his old friend, his teacher. Lin Yi walked towards the entrance of the villa without any hesitation. Guan Xuemin didn't stop him. Lu Qianni was stunned for a moment, but then he panicked. They had finally found Lin Yi. How could they let him go just like that? Lu Qianni couldn't care less about his identity. He stepped forward and grabbed Lin Yi. Little magic doctor, please wait. Why should I stay? Lin Yi pursed his lips. What if someone calls me a liar? Pa! Lu Qianni slapped Huiru's face. He may be Qintian's uncle, but Qintian was still a member of House Wu, and a rising star of the younger generation at that. He couldn't discipline him directly, so he vented his anger on his wife, who was also a Wu. It was natural for a man to discipline his wife. Even if the Wu family knew about it, they wouldn't say anything. After Wu Huiru married into the Lu family, she would be a member of the Lu family. Look at your nephew, what did you do? What did you do? Tianyi roared, frustrated. You're the perfect example of a loving aunt ruining her nephew. Huiru was stunned by Tianyi's sudden slap, but she realized that she shouldn't have brought Qintian with her when she regained her composure. She'd pissed off the little miracle doctor, and if the brothers of House Lu found out about it, they'd all divorce her as their sister-in-law. Pa! Huiru slapped Qintian's face. What nonsense are you talking about? If you keep this up, I'll call my brother and tell you to go home. Qintian didn't dare say anything after being slapped by his aunt. There were many rules in a big family, and it was natural for the elders to discipline the younger ones. Qintian lowered his head and focused all his hatred on Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, all of this was because of Lin Yi. Little magic doctor, you see. Lu Tianyi had already made his stance as he looked at Lin Yi with pleading eyes. Yes, pleading. Curing his father's illness was his biggest wish. Oh, this kid's a bit annoying. I don't want to see him anymore. Lin Yi glanced at Qintian. Huiru, why aren't you taking Qintian out? Lu Tianyi glared at Huiru. Why was she so insensible? You can see that the little magic doctor hates your nephew, why don't you make him disappear from the doctor's sight? Oh. Okay. Huiru pushed Qintian. Tian, let's go out first. Qintian humphed, unsatisfied. He looked at Lin Yi viciously and mouthed, just you wait, before leaving the villa with Huiru. Lin Yi didn't even look at Qintian. Who cared what he said? There were many people who wanted to humiliate him, but none of them got what they wanted. Of course, that was unless his old man could torture him to the point where he couldn't do anything about it. Little divine doctor, that disappointing kid has already been driven out by me. Can you treat my father now? Lu Tianyi asked carefully as he looked at Lin Yi. Did I say I'm going to treat your father? Lin Yi looked at Lu Tianyi. Was there something wrong with this guy's head? When did he say he was going to treat his father? That's... Tianyi's face froze as he groaned inwardly. Indeed, Lin Yi never promised to treat his father. He only said he hated Qintian. Little magic doctor, can you please take a look at my father? Previously, if my nephew had offended you, I apologize on his behalf. It wasn't easy to make Lu Tianyi humble himself like this. But he really did put all his hopes on Lin Yi. After seeing Lin Yi's miraculous skills with his own eyes, plus Xuemin's respect for Lin Yi, Lu Tianyi didn't doubt that Lin Yi was the real deal. If it were anyone else, even a miracle doctor, Lu Tianyi wouldn't act like this. But Lu Tianyi didn't dare underestimate this young man who was called a specialist by Guan Xuemin and miracle Dr. Guan. Especially with Lin Yi's temper. It was normal for powerful people to have a temper, and Lu Tianyi understood that. He was sure that Lin Yi was a master. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.